Welcome, everybody, to episode 5 this week. I remembered. Episode 5 of the Spitballin Sports Show podcast. I'm your host, Brad. With me is my boy, Erik, as always. And then with us in the scenes, behind the scenes, is Diesel. Say hi, Diesel.
Howdy.
So, guys, this week, we've got such a loaded series this weekend coming up with college football. The only thing I really want to talk about from this last week is the kind of even something that sets up for this week, which is the fact this is the first time we haven't had. Hold on, I'm trying to pull up the standings or the rankings as I'm talking, so I don't talk with my foot in my mouth.
Amateur hour.
We don't have a 1-2 Georgia-Bama. Like, even last year you had Georgia-Bama as like right up there, but Ohio State jumps up 2 or 1, I guess, and Bama falls 2, and Georgia went up 1. Let's go, and then with that, Bama's got a tough game this week.
Yeah, I mean, It's kind of deserved for Bama to drop a little bit. I mean, I don't think really anyone expected Bama to drop as far as they did to the 3 spot, but
No.
I mean, they deserved it. Even though they had a backup quarterback they were in Tuscaloosa and they barely beat Texas A&M, which wanted to talk about that a little bit. The play call at the end of the game was horrible.
It was a horrible play
We
call.
got to draw something up better than that.
Bama multiple times throughout that game almost seemed to kind of give it to A&M and they could just never finish through. Like, it just was like right there. And that final play call, that's heard all around college football how bad of a play call that was. Like,
and that goes back to us talking about week in, week out how bad A&M is. And this was their chance to, put a good stamp on college football this year and take Bama out of the top 4. And
absolutely.
They failed the nation. They failed the nation. They failed the nation.
They did. I mean, yeah, they failed the nation.
Hey, at least the game was good. I thought it was going to be a blowout.
Game was good. It should have been a blowout, and it wasn't. But it's one of those things. Every team's got that like kryptonite, right? That like they play against it. It's like, God, why are they always so?
Why can't we beat these guys? Like, why do we play these guys close?
Well, it was the same thing we talked about, like Oklahoma State last week, where like Baylor had always been Spencer's kryptonite, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like Tech played us really well. So it was like this week, even for Oklahoma State, was like, man, this is going to be brutal. And it kind of was. It scares me that QB at Tech, Morton, is a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, he was solid.
Because
that's a good look for them.
They keep that coach. He's probably going to be there all the next 4 years, and it's for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, ugh,
Yeah, they've had a tough start to the season, too. I think they played like 4 straight ranked games, or games against ranked teams. Yeah, I mean, they played Kansas State, Texas, NC State, Houston, now Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And they won 2 of them, but, I mean, it could be good. I mean, with him at quarterback the next few years, they could be pretty solid eventually.
They could be pretty solid. But, I mean, besides that, realistic, last week, I think the only thing really, we had a couple of upsets.
UCLA is for real in my eyes. Talk about them a little bit.
UCLA.
Their quarterback is legit.
Really good.
This is the most physical team I've seen Chip Kelly's had in college. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing. It's not flashy like he was at Oregon. This is a physical football team. I mean, they look really good.
Very physical. I agree with you on that. It's kind of weird because with everything that happened with USC, I feel like UCLA got really overshadowed in the offseason. And they've come out and played solid ball. Also, talking about upsets, Arizona State beating Washington makes, at least for us here, makes us look a little bit better.
It makes us look a little bit better because Arizona State's not good. But, I mean, their offense just started to click. Really, that was it. Like, we knew they could score points. It was just a matter if they could get the stops. And at this point, they just scored enough points to beat Washington. But, not a good look for Washington.
No.
But Arizona State's got a solid offense. I'll give them that. They got a solid offense.
Whole Pac-12 deal where it's like you kind of needed some of those more ranked wins.
Yeah.
In that, because in our mind, like, it was going to be hard to put in an undefeated team from the Pac-12 or a one-loss team in the Pac-12 realistically without those ranked wins. Undefeated team in the Pac-12 still has a really good chance probably, but needed those ranked wins and you lose that. Future thing that I saw, like for teams coming into the Big 12, BYU did lose even though they were ranked.
Yeah, that's tough. It's a tough look for the future of the Big 12. Yeah. Hopefully they can get back to, what they were in the past few years. They're like a consistent top 25 team, but they always had 2 or 3 losses that kind of set them back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe being in a conference will be. They're going to be competitive either way. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. You don't want to see losses like that.
And then
granted, it was to Notre Dame, but
No, a Notre Dame team that is still kind of trying to figure themselves out and
find its identity, if you will.
Yeah, and it's new coach. Again, he had been in the building before, but he's never had a coaching gig, like a head coach before. So this is a whole nother level, and you get somebody else in at the DC, so all of a sudden, your defense has got to figure out things. It's a good growing year for Notre Dame.
Schools are going to have that year, especially with the new coach, just the growing pains. You look at OU, speaking of growing pains with their new coach. Jesus Christ.
Brother.
I'm kind of pissed that OSU has to play Texas now that Quinn is back.
I
wish we had gotten them while Quinn was out. It's
scary.
It's going to be scary. It is scary. That Texas team is undefeated if Quinn doesn't get hurt.
As I said, they're undefeated top 4 team. They beat Bama.
There's going to be
not in the top 4 if they took that loss to Texas.
I'm just saying, if Texas goes through and just wrecks the Big 12 moving forward,
they might be a CFP team.
I think they could be considered a playoff team with 2
just because of the name.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
And the wins they would have at that point.
Lost to Bama.
Yeah.
God,
You
I
could
think
argue
it could
that both those losses are because they weren't at full strength, and then you talked about the rest of the Big 12 and how they're ranked right now. If they go through and win,
they steamroll them, win the table, win the Big 12.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But that's the only way I see them going through. If they just crop dust everyone.
Steamroll. Yeah. You gotta be
I don't know,
15, at least 2 14 plus point wins every week.
The OU win looks good, but when you look at how OU's played the last few weeks, it's eh. Yeah. I want to see him against I want to see Ewers against the not pushover Big 12 team. Just we're calling OU a pushover team, but this year they're kind of a pushover team.
No, they're not good. No, that's not a good football team.
Yeah.
No.
They're down there with West Virginia and Iowa State.
Which is tough.
That's crazy to say.
Speaking of Iowa State, there was an abysmal football game player that played there this last week. Did you guys watch any of that game?
No.
10-9.
I was like, Jesus.
Oh my God.
Dude, that's a Wisconsin-Nebraska game right there.
If you score 20 points on Iowa State, you're going to win the game. Yeah. And really all they did was shut down Kansas State's run game, and Martinez can't really throw the ball, so that's teams are going to key in on that. They're going to say, okay, to stop Kansas State, stop the run.
I think you look at what Iowa State did, and that just becomes, I wouldn't say the blueprint, but that becomes the base of what you really have to do.
Yeah.
You just scheme some things differently because you know they're going to get used to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Heavier fronts, and you can basically say, throw the ball on us. Make them throw the ball on you.
That's what excites me about for when we play them, is because our front 7, I feel can would be able to just have a blast with that. But we'll see.
Yeah, you would think. So,
you will see. But looking at this next week, kind of talking about some things, kind of going right off, we're talking ranked games. I want to start Oklahoma State TCU, but I'm not. I want to save that because we're going to talk about that a lot. Penn State Michigan is the first one that I really look at, and I'm like, man, 5-10, right? Whoever wins this realistically, you could see at the number 4 spot if they continue.
Penn State, you think Penn State would jump that much?
Not immediately. I'm just talking if they win this game, they'd be going up until they play Ohio State, right? Probably undefeated at that point. Obviously Ohio State would win, but We've seen Penn State in the playoff before. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the first real test for both of these teams because they've sort of just gotten by with their first few games. Neither of them have a ranked win. They're just undefeated, kind of riding their preseason ranks. And I mean, Penn State jumped into the top because teams started losing. The top 25 because teams started losing. They had that big one over Auburn, and then they took care of Central Michigan. Then they only beat Northwestern by 10. 17-7 was the final of that game. And I don't know much about Northwestern, but they're not a good team. That's all I know.
I don't know much, but what I do know.
Yeah, what I do know is they're not good. I don't know. It's just kind of a sketchy look for Penn State going to the Big House. I mean, obviously this is Michigan's first test too. Like I said, it's both of their first tests, so I think it'll be a good game. Once again, Gus Johnson on the call from Michigan. Like, who's surprised? It's the I don't know, Big Noon. Is that what they call it? The Big Noon game of the week.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a pretty good game. Good game for the early window. I'm not sure what'll happen. I assume Michigan will win.
That would be my assumption, but like you said, this is the first test. It's entirely possible that Michigan breaks under the pressure too.
Yeah, right. It's luckily for Michigan they're at home. So
I got a confession. I've only seen one Penn State game. It was the first game of the year against Purdue. And their offense looked pretty good. And if it just depends on the quarterback play for Penn State. If Clifford plays good, I don't think
Clifford is still at Penn State.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my God, dude!
Dude's right at 7-year eligibility.
That's what I thought so too.
Doctors?
That's what I thought too when I first saw him play. I was like, "Yo, he's still there? What the hell?" But they got two running backs. They got two freshman running backs who are both 5-stars. That are like legit though. Like, those two running backs are legit.
Penn State does?
Good.
Yeah, Penn State does.
Yeah.
Oh, I see this. Yeah, both of them had 21 carries.
Yeah.
Last week.
They're legitimately good. So, I think it's
crazy,
I think
and you've got a really experienced quarterback in the Minnesota.
Yeah. So, if Penn State beats Michigan, they get Ohio State at home later on this year too. So this is like the big win. So they can be the driver's side.
That could be huge
for the Big Ten East, which is like the best division of college football right now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it goes back to you got an experienced quarterback, you got two young running backs that we know have the talent, and there's a lot that says, hey, they could do it. Doesn't mean they will, right? I mean, I think you and I were kind of saying it, with Michigan being a higher rank, we kind of know John Harbaugh as a coach at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like, hey, there's a Jim Harbaugh's the one in Michigan. John's in. I get them mixed.
Either way, the Harbaugh brothers in big games, they don't really mix.
We
so
know who he is. Right? We know what's going to happen. Yeah. So it's like, it could go either way. Michigan does come up as a 7-point favorite.
What's the points? Total points?
Oh, let's look at that. 52.
Under. Bet the under.
I'll tease Penn State plus 14, and I'll take the under.
There you go.
In that one.
Yeah, I think the team that makes the less mistakes are going to win. So, and
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Clifford. If Clifford doesn't turn the ball over, I think Penn State's tough to beat.
I think it's going to be a gritty game on the ground because both teams have solid running backs. It's going to be a classic Big Ten game. Where whichever team can get the run game established first will likely win.
It won't be 9-6. It'll be 21-14.
Yeah, because they're actual half decent Big Ten teams that can score. Yeah, it's not
and they both have damn good defenses too. So it'll be
a fun game.
21-14. I could easily see 24-21, something like that. Something in that range for sure. I think as far as a national consensus, though, the game of the week this week, though, is going to be Alabama-Tennessee.
Correct. I don't know. Is Bryce Young back? I don't know if he's back.
I haven't gotten a confirmation he's back. They're going
if Milroe's starting that game,
better hope he is.
If Milroe's starting that game, Tennessee is gonna wipe them because Bama come out as 7.5-point favorites at Tennessee, and if Milroe is playing that game, I'm hammering Tennessee. Come on, the atmosphere at Rocky Top's going to be absolutely rowdy. And it's
going to be rowdy
top 10 for the first time in a while, and you're facing Alabama with a chance to knock them off. And you watched them play last week, and you get this sense of confidence that you're like, wait, these guys aren't that great without Bryce Young. And I don't know. Even with Bryce Young, when they played at Texas, it wasn't that great.
If you're Bama, you really are hoping that you can have Bryce Young back because he's your best shot at winning this week.
100%.
If you don't have Bryce Young, I feel like you're kind of like, you're
even with Bryce Young, they struggle on the road with Bryce Young too. They struggled on the road last year against Florida. They lost to A&M.
Yeah,
and
we saw him in Texas to open the year.
Yeah. So even with Bryce Young, I think this is
because the box score of the Texas game, it looked different because they scored like 14 points in garbage time right there at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So it was like, So this is, I think, the strongest we've seen some of the other SEC play besides Alabama, and Alabama has shown a couple of mistakes and a couple of weaknesses that they have. One of it being, without Bryce Young, they don't have a lot going for them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have a lot going for them in the run game, but
yeah,
if you become one-dimensional, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Saban will draw something up and, make Tennessee look foolish. I don't know. We'll see.
There's a reason that him and Bill Belichick get so much, connection. Because for some reason, the two of them can always just draw something up and figure something out, and all of a sudden...
Dynasty coaches. Great coaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, who are you guys picking? You guys picking Tennessee?
I'll pick Tennessee, honestly. I mean, I'll go with Tennessee either way because I like the underdog, and I think home field advantage there is going to be insane there. So, I'll ride Tennessee with this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a shootout, but I think Tennessee will win.
I'm riding Tennessee just because, kind of what we said, I don't know if Bryce Young's back yet. Bryce Young's back, then
I'll just say Bama's.
I'm still going to ride Tennessee just because, that team is just so good.
I'll just say Bama's very lucky that, I don't know if they're very lucky. Maybe, I guess I don't trust Ole Miss still, and I still don't trust Mississippi State. And they're really lucky that the SEC West is garbage this year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Mississippi State's offense is good. They got a game against Kentucky this week. I don't think Kentucky's all that great. No. But the committee's going to see this and say, oh, my gosh, a ranked win from Mississippi State at the almighty Kentucky.
Oh, boy.
Let's put them ahead of Oklahoma State.
Dude, I can't wait for Tennessee and Georgia is the number 1, number 2 matchup. They beat them.
That would be nuts.
Yeah, I guess.
That would be nuts.
Oh, man.
Another game I want to look at is in the Pac-12, USC Utah. I think this is the first proving grounds game for USC, but I'm a little worried for them because Utah just lost last week to UCLA, who I think is legit. But now Utah, you're not really in the playoff run anymore, so you kind of just don't give a shit. So you're going to come out and give it your all. You got a home game against the number 7 team in the nation, your conference rival. So I'm a little worried for USC, and they always have their struggles with pretty good teams on the road, and they've kind of been a little shaky, I would say, the last few weeks. But you never know. It is Lincoln Riley in big games and Caleb Williams in big games, but Utah comes out as a favorite right now. I think it'll be a good game to watch, especially as a night game too. It's nice when all the good games, all the SEC Big 12 games, and you got Pac-12 after dark, and this is probably going to be one of the games of the week in my eyes. Oh, Brad, you're muted.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, no, sorry. No, so I completely agree with you on that. For me, it's the first, I don't want to say the first test for USC, but it kind of is. You know? So it's if I go back and look at USC's schedule here, they haven't really played anybody. So this is kind of it, right? This is the moment.
It's the prove it week, and then they're kind of going scat free against Arizona, Cal, and Colorado as prep games for UCLA.
And then you hit UCLA. They have Notre Dame, but like we've kind of said, Notre Dame is still trying to figure itself out. Hopefully, they figured out who they are at that point, but I don't think they're going to still beat this USC team.
If USC gets through this week and they beat UCLA, they're probably going to be a playoff team. Which, as much as I hate saying that,
I hate
it'll
it
probably
too.
happen.
I don't know if it's just the fact that he was at OU for so long, but something about Lincoln Riley is just like, you're
Rubs
a great
you the wrong way.
coach, but yeah, you kind of rub me the wrong way, and so I don't want you to have success. There are plenty of other coaches in college football I'd rather see have success, and he is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, he likes his steak well done. Like,
Yeah, that guy's a weirdo.
he's a weirdo.
I know. So I'm going to throw a curveball here. There's a game I really want to talk about. It's in the ACC.
Say it.
NC State
Yes.
at Syracuse.
Yes.
Yes.
That's we got the Orangemen are actually looking pretty solid.
They're 3.5 point favorites coming out.
Yeah, well, NC State's got some quarterback issues right now. Devin O'Reilly's not playing right now. I think he's injured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got injured. I was watching the last bit of that game. He got injured, and they brought in some fifth-year grad transfer from an FCS school. He threw the ball once, and he threw an incomplete pass. But other than that, they ran 12 running plays, and they ended up getting the job done and won based off a field goal. So if Leary doesn't play, Syracuse is going to win that game.
You hate for injuries to be oh, this team sucks, but at the same time,
it's
part of
bad.
football. It's part of football, and it's no fun to lose. But it goes to show that certain you see other schools that have quality backups, and it's there's a reason that they are okay spending a scholarship on a backup quarterback because they're aware of it. I look at a different game that it doesn't matter as much except for what happened this last week, but Kansas, right? Jalen Daniels goes down in that game against TCU. He's out for anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. And their backup comes in. He threw 3 touchdowns, something like that.
Yeah, I also think that has a little bit to do with the game plan of TCU, because when I was watching that game early, when Daniels was in the game, they really had a solid game plan in stopping Daniels and the run game. I think they always had either a linebacker or a safety essentially manned up on the quarterback, as weird as that sounds. It's like a Lamar Jackson thing, where you have him ISO'd out. Yeah, and then you have another quarterback come in that you don't know anything about, and he starts throwing the ball all over you, and you're just except hell, we didn't plan for this.
If you reach back in your files, you do, because he was the starting quarterback for the last 2 years for KU. He even runs a faster 40 time than Jalen Daniels.
Really? I didn't see that, honestly.
He does.
The 40 time, because Daniels is quick.
He has a faster 40 time than Jalen Daniels. Not by much. It's by I think it's 0.3 of a second, but something like that. But I mean,
he was slinging it.
Insane. He does sling it. But it's crazy because I was listening to Oklahoma Sports Radio today as I'm driving in to work, and they're on the phone because Kansas is playing OU, so we're talking with one of the guys that reports for Kansas, and he says, here's the crazy thing. Last 2 years, this guy's never shown this to us. He gets benched for Jalen Daniels, and all of a sudden, his first game back, he goes out and throws that. He was more of a runner, this quarterback was. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. I know they both begin with J, but he's more of a runner. That's what he was originally brought into KU to be, was more of a schemed, instead of the option that you see Daniels runs where he's really successful, he's more of a schemed runner that you see with direct quarterback runs.
Or quarterback runs and quarterback draws where you have spread out and you're just okay, I'm running. And
It's exactly
totally
what this guy was. But yeah, he came out and threw 4 touchdowns, and it's that to me shows that hey, it sucked that he got benched, but he stayed, and now he's going and lighting it up.
It's good for him.
Yeah,
that was awesome. So, and I don't know how long Daniels is out. Do we know how long Daniels is out?
1 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
We didn't get Leopold did not give a defined answer because
that's
what
I'm seeing.
A week or something like that, but then I'm reading all over Twitter that it's 3 weeks. So nothing was really confirmed with the media today.
That's what I saw about Devin Leary too.
Yeah.
They say the head coach said Devin is super tough and he'll grind. It could be this week or it could be 6 weeks.
Oh,
Is
okay.
is that just like some mind games with Syracuse? Like you don't know who you're gonna get. They're like, could Leary come back this week? Like we don't know. Like
I mean, I think it's close to Syracuse undefeated right now. But I mean, if they win this week, that's great. But it'll probably end next week when they go to Clemson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a high, and then, it's just going to come down. Speaking of Clemson, this week is a week that's really interesting with Clemson because they're going against Florida State, who people say, like, I haven't watched a Florida State game this year. Really haven't been super interested, but people are saying that their defense is something to be reckoned with.
Their defense was good because when Leary was in the game against NC State, they were making plays. They kept them in the game essentially because our offense was not playing well at all.
But with a team like we've seen, like Clemson, where their defense is a struggle point that we've seen,
spotty.
It's spotty. If you get that spotty, and you're going up against a defense like Florida State that realistically can stop Clemson, you could potentially see Florida State win this game. It's not probable, but it's there. I mean, especially them only giving the Clemson 3.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
There, right? Florida. Everyone's kind of hinted at this being like a potential upset since Saturday when preparing for this next week. Like, hey, watch out for Florida State.
I think I'll still ride with Clemson with this one. I know they're only 3.5 point favorites. I know they're on the road, but I think the Wake Forest game where they won in overtime, it was like a scrape by win in overtime. I think that was sort of a wake up call for their defense. And since then, I thought their defense has played very well, especially against NC State.
Yeah.
And then Boston College, they gave up 3 last week.
Yeah, so it's like, it's... I don't personally figure that Boston College is really that much of a, football
which
team.
is
So
fair.
Giving up 3, I'm like, whatever. But I think you're not wrong in the fact that was a wake-up call, but they've also, since that game, they played NC State. That was a tough one. They had a week against Boston College that was like... It's like, you played really well, but also, like, how much are you preparing for Boston College versus, some team like Florida State? So
Kind of like a trap game this week.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of feeling like this is a potential trap game that we're kind of being told, hey, this is a trap game. But it still doesn't feel like it because it's Clemson.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of sitting here like, I'm going to ride with Clemson too, but if Florida State wins, I'm not going to be shocked. Like,
Southern tells me that coach from Florida State's on the hot seat too.
How long has he
You
been
think so?
there? How long has he been
I
there?
think it's 3 years.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it's been enough time.
Well, if Deion Sanders keeps on winning games in Jackson State,
Fair.
Florida State will throw as much money as they can to bring him home.
That's true. And he would. Well, he might take it, right? But also, I think he's kind of said before, his whole reason for coaching Jackson State wasn't for the money. It was for the fact that he got to coach these kids that really kind of needed somebody to be that figure in their life. And so if that's the reason he's doing it, I don't think necessarily Florida State, like he'll probably take the Florida State job, but I don't know necessarily what he wants to do. And I don't know if he's going to be as good as he is in Jackson State at Florida State as a head coach, because you're going up against a totally different type of competition.
Well, he still recruits better than some Division I schools.
That's very true.
Yeah, he's got the pull.
If Florida State,
his defense is going to be nasty if he goes to Florida State.
If Florida State fires their coach, it's going to be them in Nebraska in the Matt Rule race, like realistically.
Matt Rule's going to Nebraska.
Yeah, he's going to Nebraska.
He hasn't signed a contract yet, so anything's possible.
Or Wisconsin.
He hasn't signed a contract yet, so anything is possible.
Yeah.
Also looking forward to next week. I see this game's like probably pretty meaningless, but KU, OU, it's in Norman. OU is a 9-point favorite over KU.
That's crazy.
It goes back to I don't expect Jalen Daniels to play.
I mean, OU just lost 49-0, bro.
Yeah. against a game team that we were just also saying could literally be the first two-loss team in the college football playoff. So like,
I don't even think it's. I don't even think it's like. I think it's a character check now for OU if they get be blown out by Kansas at this point.
I mean, I'm gonna bet Kansas +9.
Yeah,
I'm. You guys know me. I love Kansas. So
yeah.
I love Kansas. Love Kansas State.
Yeah.
I know it is an OU home game, but are the fans really gonna sell that place out and like get rowdy for a game against KU when you're 0-3 in conference play right now? Like, I don't. We know Boomer Sooner fans. You know. I don't know. I don't think the home field advantage will be that great.
Kansas fans will travel crazy for that game.
I think they'll travel well.
Yeah, they'll travel well. Just
because of the fact that they're ranked, they're going up against OU, and it's like possibly one of the first times in your life you've seen KU have a chance of beating OU.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, they're probably going to travel really well for that game. If you're talking spread, before we talk about our alma mater, Texas getting 16.5 against Iowa State.
I'd take it.
I
would take Kansas score, and
Iowa State plays
good defense, but yeah, Texas is going to score enough to beat them.
Texas will win 24-7.
I was thinking 34-3.
Yeah. Something like that, 34-6, something like that. Like, just let Iowa State get their 2 field goals like they do, and
if their kicker can even make them.
Fair point.
Come on.
So now we're going to talk about our game of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State, TCU. It's in Fort Worth, right?
Yes.
Scary time, nervy time.
It is kind of a nervous time because this is the best. I feel like this is the best TCU team we've seen
since 2015.
2015, yeah. I was going to say my freshman year. And
I think we beat them in Stillwater that year, right?
Yes, we did. But again, you were talking in Stillwater.
Yeah.
It was also the time of the Wombo combo with Rudolph and Walsh.
Mm-hmm. And it was the breakout for James Washington. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I wasn't there. I was at Oklahoma State then.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
no,
you're right.
It was the breakout with Rudolph to Washington.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
That was where it started. So I want to look at last week with OSU to kind of foreshadow for this week.
Sure.
The game plan has to be different. We cannot feed Bray all game. That's what we tried to do, I felt like, so much at Tech. I get it was his first game back, and you want to get him kind of in a groove. But it seemed like if there was a ball being thrown, it was being thrown to him.
I mean, rightfully so. He's a good player. I mean, he will make plays. I think. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you though. There, I think he had 10 targets, but only 2 catches.
I get why you do it. Like I said, he was coming back off an injury, right? He gets back. He's your big guy. He's your big receiver. Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And maybe it was just kind of a thing.
Scheming versus force feeding. It felt like we were running the same plays and still trying to get it to him to make it work. If he was limited in what he could do, then that's okay. Let him run his routes, but scheme something else. Once we started throwing to Presley, I felt like our offense opened up.
Yeah, and I think Bryson Green made some insane plays as well. Bryson Green has been great all year, and I think him and Bray on the outside with Presley and John Paul Richardson in the slot, that's a deadly – it's like some slept-on receivers. It's not like the big names like James Washington, Tay Martin, but they will make themselves known as the season goes along.
Wait, I just forgot. Did Tay get drafted?
I don't think Tay got drafted. He should have gotten drafted, but he didn't get drafted.
Okay. That's right.
Unless I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Diesel, can you fact check me on that? I don't think he got drafted.
Tim Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
I don't think he got drafted either, but I was wondering maybe if he was with somebody at this point.
Should be. He's a great receiver.
But
yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I think it was sort of like a chemistry building thing, which I agree probably shouldn't have happened in this week where you're losing the game right now. But like trying to get your timings down and stuff, like in-game action, which is good.
That's practice. That's what
should have happened against Arkansas Pine Bluff. And,
well, and
obviously
I get that he wasn't
playing
there for that, but like that's something that I feel like those guys either need to work on in practice or that they needed to put in extra time to make that stuff happen.
Tate Morton is a part of the San Francisco 49ers practice squad.
For him.
Good for him. Proud of you, Tate. I just kind of don't want him to pull a Marcel Aitman and be with the same team for like 3 years in the practice squad and then no longer. So no, it's got to be different. I say this all the time. We have such a good running attack, and I feel like that game we tried to force the pass because they knew we had a good running attack. And
tried to big brain him, but it didn't end up working.
It didn't end up working out, and I don't know if that was we saw something that scared us, and so we were passing the ball more because they had stopped some runs or what. But it didn't seem like to me like the run was being stopped that bad. Like we were getting what was Richardson averaging?
He only averaged 3.5 yards a carry, 19 for 67.
That's fine. 3 yards a carry, I will take that. 2nd and 7.
Really?
Yeah. Versus throwing a slant and almost getting it picked off 7 times a game.
I guess that's fair. Sanders did have a lot of turnover-worthy throws that game. It kind of scared me.
If that secondary was a good secondary, that would have been 2 or 3 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think this will be I think Gundy's going to hone him in a little bit and say, hey, you're better than that. You just got to relax a little bit. Because I feel like when we get behind, Sanders is kind of antsy. And I think he showed that a little bit. But I think as the season goes on, obviously, this was our first real, test. Because we haven't really been trailing in a game at any point. And Texas Tech was just going up and down the field. And Sanders, was trying to force a few things. But I think Gundy's going to hone him in. And I think we're going to have a good week this week. And moving on to the matchup against TCU this week, unless you wanted to say something more about
that's what I was pointing to with this week, where TCU's defense is, I think, better than Texas Tech's. I think we can agree on that. Their corners are going 100%. To play a lot of press like we saw Tech do against those slants and those options, and that's going to be something that, like you said, Diesel, a good defense, he's going to throw 2 or 3 picks. There were a lot of turnover-worthy plays we felt like this last week. That can't happen this week. Otherwise, you are going to pay for it.
So Max Duggan, the quarterback. I want to talk about him for a quick second.
What is he, a senior? Is he like the Sean Clifford of the Big 12? He's still here?
We faced Oklahoma State faced against Duggan 2019 and 2020. In 2019, they won. Oklahoma State won 34-27 thanks to Chuba just going nuts in that game.
Love that.
In 2020, he scored on a 73-yard bomb. I think it was 29-22. And, he looked really good that game. He was out last year, and they lost 63-17. Because Chandler Morris was the quarterback.
Last week was bad. Last week was bad. Yeah. Or last year, was bad.
Yeah. So
he is somebody. He plays us really well.
Yeah, I mean, based on his stats, he plays us historically pretty good, and plus this being at Fort Worth, that's oof. And I think Oklahoma State's going to pull it off, but because I don't think this defense is as good as Baylor's. I don't think they are. I think Baylor's defense is the best. I think Texas has the best defense. I think Baylor's right there, number 2.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you.
I think that's fair.
And I think TCU is maybe 5th best.
I think Iowa State would be 3rd.
Here's my question with that. So yes, I agree with you on that. Would you say that TCU's offense is better than Baylor's offense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, right?
Sonny Dykes is he's probably a good offense here. I fear for our corners' lives. Those core receivers are freaking huge.
Yeah, they are. I mean, you're talking. I was gonna pull up. My thing is TCU seems on the season so far, to have a better rushing attack than we do.
So here's my thing about the TCU offense.
Yeah.
This is what I was going to say earlier. They haven't played a proven solid defense yet.
True.
They have played Colorado, who we know is just awful.
Yeah.
They played Tarleton, who I don't even know. They beat SMU by 1 score. They beat a horrible OU team, which we just talked about. They're just not good. And they beat KU, which at the end of the day,
we don't know how good that. We don't know how good that team.
Exactly. Like last week we talked about with the TCU KU match. We don't know how good they really are because they haven't really played anyone yet. Obviously, TCU got the edge by 1 score. TCU very well could have lost that game.
It's also true.
But, like, you're coming home against your first test against a top 10 team, an Oklahoma State defense that hasn't played very well but made the good adjustments. I saw a tweet earlier today about the fourth quarter adjustments for OSU have been outstanding.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that. Yeah.
But I think that Oklahoma State pulls it out, but I think,
I think the Oklahoma State defense needs to, not have to make those adjustments and just come out and like really make a statement about this offense that TCU thinks is so great and that has obviously, rightfully so, has looked great. If Oklahoma State comes out and makes that statement, goes down, scores a few touchdowns, and like Spencer Sanders looks like, Spencer Sanders in the second half of the Fiesta Bowl or Spencer Sanders against OU last year, I think they can get away with it. And then once we get a lead, they're forced to pass. Our D-line comes in.
Yeah.
We make a play.
And this is going to be a hell of, like we talked about the corners being a big battle. If your defensive line does what it can do, and like what we know that front, realistically that front 7, what we know that they can do, like that helps, I think, your corners a little bit. If you're getting to the passer,
exactly,
then he can't make those huge 73-yard bombs if, Trey
I would like to see a lot of blitzes from Derek Mason because he didn't do that a lot in the first half, but in the second half last week against Texas Tech, when he was like, okay, this kid's getting too much time in the pocket, he started throwing blitzes, started forcing him out of the pocket, and that's when your corners and even your linebackers we saw can start making plays on the ball and like disrupting passes because Muhammad last week had a hell of a second half, breaking up a bunch of passes and stuff. And
my thing with Mason and his play calling is that he tries to see what the game is like right off the bat and see how the game is. I mean, you can't do that shit in the Big 12.
Yeah,
I mean, you could have done that in the SEC.
You gotta set what the game is.
Yeah, like you could done that in the SEC easily, and like you can't do that in the Big 12. They're gonna go right after you right off the bat.
I think he'll adjust to it, but I think you're right. I think this is gonna be that test for him. He's gonna be either he's gonna be like he is, like you say, kind of feeling the game out, and then all of a sudden Oklahoma State's gonna be down 14-0, or he's going to come out and be like, I did that last week. We had to really play. This week I'm going to change it up and we're going to start heavy. And you see that change.
I think one thing that sucks is that we're going to be without one of our best defensive players in the first half.
Yeah, from
that's also stupid.
Targeting call.
Yeah.
I think what you were saying, Diesel, with making adjustments as the game goes along, kind of feeling it out. I think that's what Jim Knowles did a lot of last year, but the defense was just so good. And so, with the system, it didn't really matter because we'd give up points in the first half, and then in the second half, we'd shut teams out because Knowles was like, if these guys are doing this, we're going to shut them down because they know what works. We're going to shut that down. They're screwed.
Because this is a great coach, too.
Exactly. And then you have Derek Mason. Exactly. We have a young secondary. Like the front 7, sure, we can do that. But with the secondary, no. Against this passing attack, it's not going to work. So like you said, come out, make a statement, really put the pedal to the metal on both sides of the ball.
Because all you gotta do is rattle Duggan right off the bat. That's all you gotta do. You gotta make
pressure on him.
You gotta make him feel it. Because then he'll second guess himself. Because it happened with Morden too. Yeah, that could have been RPI, that roughing the passer when he got hit down below. But hey, it is where it is. It's pro football. So, college football. But so
we don't have those kinds of calls in men's league. Which I can't wait to talk about that here in a minute. I think that's
so. But speaking, are we moving towards the men's league?
I was like, do you want to move towards men's league? Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about with college football? I did want to say this is another week we're going to see Mississippi State go up because realistically I think we can all agree they're going to beat Kentucky. Kentucky's just kind of fallen from what they were at the beginning of the year. But other than that, there's nothing else that I look to this week and say.
Just a lot of good games.
Just
a lot of good games, a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. It's going to be great.
Reality check weekend.
The first week, where teams get their first tests,
Reality check weekend, I think, is a great call for it, Diesel. So, absolutely. But no, let's jump to the men's league. Because this week, I feel like, was weird. But also, there was a lot of things that we kind of could have expected. I don't know.
There wasn't anything crazy that happened this week other than the Jets beating the Dolphins 40-17. In my
Zach Wilson is a dog. I fucking love that kid. Just watching I saw the highlights, and he's just. It seems like after this, he always kind of could get there in these past couple of years that he has been in the league, but he'd always get hurt, and then because of that, he'd have to take it easy, or he didn't really feel like he could do it, and so now. They went in with, they won a game or two with Flacco, and it's like, okay, let's go do this. He's got a team around him finally. He's able to kind of, play ball. And I'm fucking happy for the kid because that team was too stacked if they had, a really bad year this year. Obviously, they're in one of the hardest fucking divisions. One of. They're not the hardest, but one of the hardest divisions because you do have the Bills. Like you said, you had the Dolphins, but they didn't have Tua, so there is that. And obviously the Patriots are there too, so it's their Patriots aren't good this year, but it's Bill fucking Belichick, right? You expect him to win games.
So we saw that this week in Detroit, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, most powerful offense, my ass. Jeez.
Yeah, right.
It is, and Bill Belichick just shut him down.
He's like, you know what?
But it was a Matt Patricia revenge game. So, there is that.
Another thing I saw was the Jaguars coming back down to earth. That was we don't have to talk about this one a lot, but that was just brutal from T-Law. Brutal.
It's his.
I hate to see it too. I hate to see it too.
Yeah.
But I get it because last year he had to be extremely cautious, right? Because he didn't have the coach, because they didn't have the offense humming. And so he was extra cautious about when he felt like there was pressure and would tuck the ball when he would get sacked. Or he would run. Or he would dump it off to ETN or James Robinson, whoever was there. He just they always kind of had a check down. Doug Peterson had, this year he's been humming. He goes up against the Texans and he just he felt fearless, I feel like. He was just kind of
Too fearless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the Texans. They're supposed to suck. And then he just gets absolutely bodied and fumbles a whole fuck ton.
Yeah, realistically, the aren't horrible.
No, they're not. There's not a god awful NFL team this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's not oh my god, that team is bad.
The reason you don't expect the Texans
to
win is because
I know
they don't have a quarterback that everyone's like, oh, this is a great quarterback. They're running with Davis Mills, and they don't have normally the good with quotation marks years of the Texans. You had a defensive line that was scary, right? You think of when you had Vince Wilfork and J.J. Watt on that defensive line, it was oh.
So their secondary is young, and they have Derek Stingley from LSU, Jalen Petrie, who gave us fucking fits last year from Baylor, from the safety. He's there, and that's the team that they got a young core. Plus, Dameon Pierce is a freaking beast of a Pierce is a freak dude. Good. How did Dan Mullen not run this kid as running back at Florida? What an idiot! No wonder why he's on ESPN now. God, man, he just runs is so angry.
And here's the other thing too: if they can get they have OJ Howard, right? They have Brandon Cooks. I feel like if they get one more good receiving option for
the next quarterback.
I think like a top piece on offense and a top piece on defense, and they could realistically compete in the South.
They've got draft picks that do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're playing this year. I'd be interested to see what happens with trade deadline coming up, which I would love to kind of.
I don't see Brandon Cook signing again. I don't.
Yeah. No,
I don't see it. I think John. You know, they also have John Mitchie. They have John Mitchie right now, but he's dealing with cancer right now, and hopefully he comes back and plays like he was at Bama.
Well,
for whoever's the quarterback, and whoever's the quarterback going to be, because it's not going to be Mills.
Yeah.
Next year after next year.
Well,
There's
I
just
feel
no way.
Yeah, they're going to draft a rookie quarterback.
He's just like a placeholder.
That's exactly what he is, and he knows it, and he's loving the fact that he's getting to play right now. You know, because he'll get a backup job somewhere.
100%. He's definitely good enough to be a backup. He's he's not a serviceable starter, but he's a guy that you can like come in and make a spot start every now and then.
To win games. You can expect to win. You know, for example, if guy's out 4 weeks, you expect to go 2-2 with Davis Mills, and you're okay with that.
Especially if he's on a better team, with like a better core.
They could easily trade Cooks to a team right now at the trade deadline, get an extra, second round pick or something like that, and be able to get top heavy. I'm looking at there's a couple teams, Bears, Titans. There's a couple teams that can use
Titans could be sneaky.
Could be sneaky with it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple teams that could easily get in the Packers could easily be in that.
If Cooks goes to Packers, that'll be good for them. But I think Houston's gonna try to get a first rounder for him, which would be nuts.
Well, and depending on the team, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody paid a first rounder for him.
If Green Bay is still struggling before deadline with the receiving core, I can see Green Bay biting the bullet for Cooks for a first rounder. You're not going to use a
first round wide receiver anyway. You might as fucking
well. Yeah, true.
I 100% agree. I mean, you could also see, I could easily see somebody like the Falcons just being in because of the fact that they're like, all they have is Drake London and Kyle Pitts. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, you could easily see something like that happening.
Tank for a quarterback if you're Falcons.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Or play Ritter, for Christ's sake, since you've got him.
Yeah, give him a shot,
Giants upsetting the Packers this week, though. I think, what a time.
Are they legit? Are they good?
So
I think their defensive line's pretty solid.
Their defensive line is solid.
Yeah.
I think here's what they're doing, right? They are playing the same game the Tennessee Titans have played, which is we've got a fucking good running back. We've got decent enough wide receivers. We've got a quarterback who can game manage. We've got a defense that is very front heavy with a couple of younger pieces on the back that can be scrappy. Mm-hmm. And they're making it work. Dayball's the guy who's the
so far,
right?
so good.
Dayball, yeah. So he ran a lot of the plays he ran last week against Chicago and against the Packers, and I think he found something with Saquon. Yeah. And Saquon might not be traded now. They may keep him at this point.
They have a reality check though next week.
They do have a reality check though this next week, which we'll get to. Erik. Man, y'all scraped it.
What do you mean?
Literally by the skin of your teeth.
We won that game fair and square.
The only game that was closer was my Monday night game.
He helped the Texans. He helped the Texans too.
So I first and foremost, disregarding the last play, the last minute of the game, I thought when we started down 14-0 that we were going to lose that game. 100%. Started down 14-0. Brissett was throwing dots. Chubb was running all over us. But I was checked out of the game. I was like, it's the same old Chargers, But then we stormed back, scored 17 unanswered, and from there it was kind of like a shootout. But I was just proud of the tenacity of the team to stick with it.
Yeah.
I think our defense has fallen off a little bit, and especially it's much easier for teams to run on us without Joey Bosa.
Yes.
But I mean, Herbert he didn't have his best game, but he made throws when he needed to. Mike Williams had a hell of a game, but our running game finally got going. Austin Eckler, 173 yards on 16 carries, and Joshua Kelly was he spelled him. My biggest thing, though, is we didn't give Michelle the ball more than one time. That was my thing. from the beginning of the season, why is Sony Michel taking carries from Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly? And one of the beat reporters was talking to our offensive coordinator, and he was like, so why is Joshua Kelly not playing as much? And Lombardi was like, well, I mean, I don't really know. It's a good point. He comes out, gets 10 carries, 49 yards, and a touchdown. He was running through people. He caught some balls out of the backfield. He made some plays. He's just a good power running back. And you have a guy like Eckler, too.
Became the name, we have Sony Michel.
Yeah.
Lombardi was just doing that. And you said, Kelly had been it.
It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that Michel played 2 snaps and we had our best rushing game of the season. Granted, Eckler popped off, which was great. Back-to-back weeks where he's popping off, which is good to see. But I think the Chargers' offense can really, explode if we keep this run game going and open things up for Herbert, especially when we get Keenan Allen back, which is either this week or next week, I think.
That's a good question.
Things are looking up for us. But that fourth quarter call, I didn't agree with. Staley's got, balls of whatever the hardest material on planet Earth is. I don't even know what it is, but he let his nuts hang there. Yeah. Especially, he said, all right, our defense hasn't played well. Let him make a statement. And sketchy, but we got lucky and we won a game.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah.
It was weird, but we'll take it.
Before we talk about my game, I do want to bring up part of my game and part of actually 2 other games I found out thanks to the internet. Roughing the passer.
Stupid.
Guys. It'd be one thing if, we had a clear definition, right? Hey, that's roughing the passer. But it felt like 3 of the calls of roughing the passer that we got this week didn't seem to fit the complete description of what the NFL gives you for roughing the passer.
The only one I thought that really fit the description was the one on Mahomes because it's full body weight on the quarterback, but still that's a dumb rule. It's stupid. The one on Derek Carr. Excuse me.
I want to get to that one, but I want to talk about the other 2 first because those aren't in the Chiefs game, and I'll talk about the Chiefs game as a whole. But
yeah, the one with Brady was horrid.
That one was horrific, and then you have the one on Carson Wentz.
I didn't see that one.
I didn't see it either, but I saw a tweet of it, and that's where I kind of got the whole thing. I was like, wait, what? And it's the same. It was the same thing as Brady, literally.
Oh, where he just kind of got wrapped around and
he got wrapped around by a linebacker off the edge, and it was like that.
And then that happened to Mahomes last night, and they didn't call anything.
They didn't call it. Yeah, that was my biggest thing. That was my biggest thing.
At least be consistent with it.
If you're going to call the one you called on Chris Jones, which I'll talk about that now that we're going to get into. I'm going to get into the Chiefs game a little bit. First off, what a start. Las Vegas, to me, feels like they should be immensely better. And they
should have won that game.
I mean, honestly, that game should have gone to overtime. Now, as far as who wins it or not, I don't know. But that game easily should have gone to overtime. And it didn't. Because they went for 2. And again, it was a replay deal. I think that roughing the passer needs to be reviewable because of the Chris Jones one. And I'll explain that why. Because, yes, I get what you say about him dropping his weight, right? If you look, there's 2 arguments to that call. One, technically speaking, before Chris Jones starts to fall and they both start to fall, he has stripped Derek Carr. Derek Carr no longer had the ball. It was pretty much in Chris Jones' hand. At that point, is Derek Carr still technically the passer if he's not passing the ball or has possession of the ball? That's super technical in my mind. Here's what caught me. They're both falling. Chris Jones has the ball in one arm. And he puts his other arm out to try and not fall completely on Derek Carr. Or get up, right, and run with the ball since he's stripped him. Is he supposed to drop the ball and put his second hand down? till he doesn't fall on him.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you have a chance to review that and take in all the factors, you don't call that roughing the passer.
100%. I think it should be it should be similar to targeting in like a reviewable play, where like they go into the booth and say,
for a while there.
Yeah.
Too. It's like
Yeah.
So, as far as the rest of the game, Mahomes and Kelsey, I don't know.
It seemed like the Raiders were covering Kelsey the whole way down the field, and as soon as they got inside the 15-yard line, they were like, "All right, cover everyone else except Travis Kelsey."
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. It blew my mind.
Somebody said this the best. It's like most tight ends, most players, realistically, once you hit 30, you don't expect them to keep getting better. And yet, Travis Kelsey, statistic-wise, is getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, even though everybody knows he's the number one receiving option, he still gets open. It doesn't, like, if you're a defense, I would rather you try and throw to MVS and Juju and these other guys that, like, yeah, they're receivers, right? And, like, we know that. But they're not your number one receiving option. We saw MVS drop a ball. We saw Juju Smith-Schuster almost knock a ball into a pick. Stuff like that. There's more mistakes there. Those are new guys. Travis Kelsey's been with Mahomes the whole time. They have this insane connection. That's the receiving option you should take away. And when the Raiders were able to stop us, was because they did. They forced Mahomes to throw to somebody else.
And when they got pressure on him, too. Early on in the game, I thought it was going to be a long game for Mahomes because Max Crosby was getting home a lot, and they have Chandler Jones on the other side. But, I mean, I don't know. It's not like they went away from it. The Chiefs just adjusted to it. And
they did. Well, they switched.
That's why they're such a good team.
They switched two of their linemen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On to Max Crosby?
No. What happened was they switched.
They changed matchups?
They changed matchups because Orlando Brown was just getting beat bad all game. And they switch who's the guard with on the side. They switched a guard with the tackle that's against Crosby. And they put Thuney on Crosby. And
see, that's why the Chiefs are so good. They make adjustments like that. And I don't know. It's just... There's just Andy Reid is a great coach.
There's so many things on that game that were just little things that made differences. First off, pass interference seems very exploitable with that because Derek Carr definitely underthrew Devontae Adams twice, and because
I don't think he did it on purpose. I think he's just bad.
I'm not saying that he did it on purpose, but the description that we got on that call was. Because Devontae Adams had to come back to the ball, and the corner was physically not letting him do that because he was in the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's pass interference. At that point, I'm just going a comeback route and running right into the fucking cornerback.
I think if the corner were to turn around and find the ball, then it wouldn't.
If he turns his head, I think it's fine. But because he didn't, because as far as he knows, the ball's going over top, right?
Yeah.
What else? I mean. If the ball's going over top and you're just trying to keep up with Devontae Adams, who is the best receiver, and in a split second he slows down and jumps up right in front of you, there's not much you can do about that. There's not much you can do about that in that way. I get the whole, I got to turn my head around. But a lot of times these guys, they're going to turn their head around. They don't know where the ball is and they lose a step, right? Or that's when they turn around and all of a sudden Derek Carr threw to the middle and Devontae Adams is cut over. Right? Or something like that where it's like there's little things that could happen with that. So I don't know if you guys saw that I got for some reason I got used in an article for that. I tweeted out that tweet that I think you responded to.
Yeah.
Erik, and there was a bot that posted it and said, "Oh, your tweet has been used in an article." I was like,
okay, that's
thanks,
cool.
Guys.
Okay, cool, I guess.
Yeah, it's someplace I never.
Did you even ask you for permission?
Nope, just used it.
Fuck no.
They just used it. I'm just on an article.
Way to be journalists these days.
Right, it's just pulling tweets from Twitter at this point.
PPC, pay per click.
Right.
What scares me a little bit about the Raiders, though, in that game was Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs finally got going. I mean, he's been great for him, but he was running with a purpose. Like, he was running full speed into the secondary, and
he was deliberately trying to find people to hit.
He was trying to kill people.
He was trying to knock some hits.
He caught a touchdown. He would have went to go stiff arm a safety. Like, that's how mean he was. But that kind of scares me, because if they get that going like they did last night, and they played close with one of the best teams in the league, like a top 3 team in the league, they can do it against anyone.
They can do it against anyone. Exactly.
Like I said, their schedule is getting really weak now.
They'll come back.
Like
they'll come back.
They're not 1-4 team. They're way too good for this.
They just played Chargers, Chiefs, and
they just played
they
really
beat the Broncos.
good
Titans, fucking Denver, like
yeah.
Every team has been decent except until you said Denver, like dumpster fire.
Arizona, but Arizona, is a little weird this year.
Yeah,
They're missing D-Hop a lot, but I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, they're missing D-Hop a lot, but Arizona fascinates me in the fact that they can't seem to do shit until the second half. Like that whole first half, Kyler's just kind of like not in it.
Well, still XP weekend, man.
That's why I bet the Eagles.
Like it was still XP weekend. Norway was in it, man. Like, look what he wore. I mean, he came out there looking like Hillary Clinton.
Dog.
That was bad.
That was bad. But no, so like I want to look at this week with that because, and I know we're gonna get to play a little game here, but looking at this week, first off, I feel so sorry for Amazon. $13 billion and they get dog shit games.
Horrible Thursday night game so far.
The only game they've gotten that was good was Chiefs Chargers.
The Chiefs and Chargers.
Yeah. Ever since
got the money's worth.
Dog shit.
You know, can I just say something? Can I just say something?
Say it.
Oh God, bro.
The people who are saying that the Bears Commanders games can be worse than the Colts and Broncos games are stupid. It's not going to be that.
Tough. It'll be tough to beat.
It won't be.
I don't think it'll be that bad.
Possible.
I don't think it'll be that bad because one of two things is going to happen: either the Justin Fields and the Bears offense is actually going to score points,
no,
or Carson Wentz is actually going to take a step in the direction that we know him to do.
No,
or better than
probably
that,
not.
Better than that. Ron Rivera finally benches Carson Wentz and plays Taylor Heineke like he fucking should have all season.
Oh, buddy, no.
You didn't get a better quarterback.
This is all going to take.
It's going to be a 5-3 final. The Bears D line's going to get it done.
No,
5-3. We're going to get Scorigami. It's going to be great.
Scorigami, Jesus Christ. Now, just want to talk quick about the Bears. They played good. Moral victory. Number 17 is going to get cut if he hasn't been cut yet after a doofus illegal block in the back. His block in the back caused a 52-yard touchdown run from Fields getting nullified. And then instead of running out of bounds, he starts to fight for extra yards and gets the ball taken away from him, like Debo sold the bike from Friday. Yeah. So,
that was.
I mean,
tough.
This team's. I mean, they're not awful. Like I said, there's not an awful football team right now. Like that I can see.
No.
And like everyone's kind of balanced right now. I mean, Raiders are a good team, yet they're 1-4. We don't know if the Giants are sus. We don't even know if the Vikings are sus yet.
I think as the season goes on, the frauds will come out of the dark. Obviously, as most years will. But
here's something I would say: I wouldn't say that. I agree that like there's no bad football team because but there are some teams that really fucking suck. Like Panthers, Steelers.
Oh no! Like I think you could say that maybe the Panthers and Steelers might be there as like, oh yeah, they're bad.
Yeah.
But the people idea that thought the Texans or the Bears were going to be like the worst teams, I didn't think they were going to be a 4-win team. I thought they were going to be like a 7-win team. They got 5 more to go to get there. But I just don't.
This week. You can get it.
Yeah, I think they can win this week. I really think they can.
Here's something that I found interesting. Here's something I found really, really, really interesting. You guys will love this. Ron Rivera, right, when he was in Carolina, never had a defense that was below the top 15 as far as defensive efficiency, defensive stats. Never had one that was below a top 15. This year, the Commanders, 26th in rushing yards allowed, 28th in points scored against.
And that's why I think that Chicago might get some touchdowns this week.
And yet,
especially being a short week.
I feel like I'm just like, when I came into this year with the Commanders, thinking in my head like, hey, like, what's the glaring spot on this team that's just like dog shit? I thought Carson Wentz. That was to me the biggest thing, and the fact that Gibson fumbled a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't think about their defense because I felt like their defense had been fine for a couple years.
I thought I had too. I thought their D line was always really good, especially with the addition of Chase Young, and their secondary was like passable.
This year they've been garbage.
Yeah.
On defense, and I'm like, okay, so I look at a game like this with the Bears coming in, and I'm like, okay, this is a game that's very doable because N'Keal Harry's back, and you've got Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney. Is Montgomery back?
He played last week.
That's why Khalil Herbert fucking didn't give me any points.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
It's okay. I'm just struggling with running backs, and he was my only hope. Yeah, and so you got Montgomery. You still even have Herbert in the back. Like, you've got all these offensive pieces, and on the Commanders, you have it too. Boy, I like Justin Fields more than I like Carson Wentz.
So someone was breaking down the film last week with it was like a 4th and 6, and Justin Fields had to run for 8 yards to get the first down, but he was flabbergasted how bad the center, left guard, and left tackle did not pick up a single defender with pass protection. Like, I was like, oh my god, this offensive line is actually garbage.
Do you think Fields could be decent with a good offensive line?
Yes, 100%, and with a true number 1 receiver. I firmly believe that.
Brandon Cooks and DJ Moore are going to be on the block.
I think us and the Giants are going to be trying to go after.
Yeah, and the Packers.
I mean, why not? I mean, it would feel nice to try to draft an offensive lineman high next year and not have to worry about a receiver.
That's why I look at somebody like Brandon Cooks and I'm like, I mean, realistically, they'll probably try for a first, but you could probably also easily get him for a second. Depending on where the Texans are at the trade deadline and how much they really feel like they're going to win now versus...
I want to see what Ryan Poles does with the free agency deadline. I want to see if he makes some moves. I really want to see if he does it. I don't think...
Go ahead.
I guess we talked about earlier because you really did Kansas City, and his draft picks seem fine. You know, Trevon Gibson looks like a solid defensive lineman. Brisker looks like he's going to be a solid safety, and Kyler Gordon actually played really well last week without Jalen Johnson. Yes, Justin Jefferson had a lot of catches, but 13 of those catches were, I think 10 of the 13 was in the first half.
Yes. Yeah.
He went off in the first half. And in the second half, they shut him down. They started that little comeback.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good things with the Chicago. Like, they're not a god. Like, yeah, I mean, they might play bad football, but the roster is not bad. I think the only glaring part of the roster that's god-awful is the offensive line. That offensive line, it's bad. And the receiving core could be better, too, big time.
But you can win games with a mediocre receiving core if you have a good offensive line. I mean, we've seen teams do it. So
I mean, that's...
Looking at some of the other games this week, though, first off, it's the first week of bye weeks, so that kind of helps. Because I was getting pissed about how there were so many games that I wasn't able to get to watch because every team was playing, and you only get 2 morning games and 1 afternoon game, and then the Sunday night game.
That's why I watch Red Zone. You just get like the highlights of every game.
But it's just nice. But looking at this week, we've got some really fun games and some really not fun games. Sunday night's gonna be one that's gonna be fun to watch for me. Cowboys Eagles.
That's
the game of the week.
That's game of the week.
One of the game of the week. I mean, you got Bills Chiefs at 325 too.
Yeah, that's true. But like this, I think this game it's going to tell a lot about the NFC playoff picture. Because right now, NFC is dog shit. Like AFC is like Mad Max Fury Road, while like NFC is like just dandelions, one or two teams, and that's about it. So.
I think this is Dallas's first, I don't want to say test, but it's like, I mean, yeah, and they got manhandled there, but they've sort of hit their stride. That's when Dak got hurt, right? Was it week one? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's it's kind of tough. But then you have a game plan with Cooper Rush. Rush comes out, goes 4-0, but personally, I don't think Rush goes 4-0. I think the defense goes 4-0.
Fair point.
And you could say. The Rams, they have the weapons, but their offensive line's horrible, so that isn't really it. You play the Commanders, and they're not very good. The Giants, they're a half-decent team. They can game manage, but if you can stop them enough, you're going to win the game. And then Cincinnati was a good win.
Yeah, Cincinnati was a good win. But again, it goes back to Joe Burrow was running for his life against that defense.
Yeah, but the Eagles' offensive line is good.
Backwards from what Dallas used to be, because it used to be Dallas's offense was humming and their defense was always giving things up.
They can never mash at the same time.
Yeah, they could never do it, and now here they are, and they've kind of got it. I'm fascinated with kind of it was kind of the same thing I was talking about with the Giants, where Cooper Rush isn't a quarterback that wins you games. He's a quarterback who manages games for you.
Mm-hmm. But he's going to have to make plays this week.
He is going to have to make plays this week. So this is a very telling week for the Cooper Rush Shield. I know this is also the time that they were expecting to possibly get Dak back at the earliest.
I think they wait another week.
I feel like you wait because
wait till you get Detroit at home.
Unless if you feel like Dak wins you this game because when he's back, which I don't think you do. Then I think you wait. I think you let Cooper Rush go in, and everyone can use the excuse, oh, he would have won that with Dak. And then you just
Yeah. I don't think you bring Dak in to this game.
This game would be a hell game.
Philadelphia's defense is, everyone's talking about that. I talk about how great Dallas's defense is, too. Philadelphia's defense is not far from them.
No.
That secondary, I think it's better than Dallas.
Linebacker, defensive lineman, defensive end. I mean,
the only edge I give for Dallas is their defensive line, and that's it. Because I think the defensive line for Philly is not there yet, but the linebacking core in the corners, secondary, is better than Dallas.
Yeah, but I think the Eagles' offensive line is good enough to counter the Dallas defensive line, which is why I think the Eagles are going to win this game.
Because it's going to be a game of secondaries.
With Dak, maybe it's a different story. But I think the Eagles are going to come out, and I think the Eagles are going to put up a statement win, personally. Yeah. Especially since they're at home, the Philly crowd goes crazy. It could be a different game later in the season in Dallas with Dak Prescott back.
Exactly. That's why I think they're okay if they. Yeah. They're just happy to be 4-2 at this point with Cooper. I'm being for real. I'm shocked they're 4-2. I thought they'd be 3-3 or 2-4.
They're 4-1 going into this game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because I don't think they're going to beat the Eagles.
Oh, you're right.
4-2. Diggs against Devontae Smith or AJ Brown. God rest your soul, buddy. You're going to need help, bro.
With the little addition of Dallas Goedert as well.
Oh, yeah.
Plus Hurts running the ball. And even if Hurts, is running for his life, he's going to be able to make plays with his legs.
Make plays, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think Cowboys defense could have success if they have Micah Parsons as a full-time spy on Jalen Hurts. Is that bad? Do you trust your other pass rushers to get
I don't
home?
think that's bad. I don't think it's a bad game plan at all.
You trust
to.
because Micah Parsons is their big playmaker on defense. He gets to the quarterback.
He
But,
can
like,
break games by himself. I mean, he's TPOY right now for me.
I think if you start out of the gate like that, you trust your secondary which is half decent to
for dear life.
Stop some of these receivers. Yeah, hang on for the ride. And you trust your other pass rushers, not named Micah Parsons, and you just have Micah Parsons kind of be like a spy. And if they get home to Hurts, he gets out, Parsons makes the play, and then Hurts is like, okay, this is rough. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
You have to one way or another have a spy on Jalen Hurts at all times. My worry is, you talk about trusting your pass rushers. My worry is that without Micah Parsons, you give Jalen a lot of time.
That right? Too. Or you could just some like Leighton Vander Esch do it.
I lean to letting Leighton kind of be the spy. And you're using Micah Parsons, which I don't like that really either because Leighton isn't great, right? Like there are plenty of other linebackers that they've had in their time that I would rather have in that situation, but
that's why I turned to Micah. Like he is their best pass rusher, but like he can also really. Like if the second Hurts rolls out, he goes.
If they could get a time machine to get 2018 Jalen Smith and put him in this defense, they'd be okay.
They'd be fine. But you're not going to get 2018 Jalen Smith ever again.
But they can't do that.
It's one of those things where had they kept Randy Gregory, that's the exact game.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Had they kept him, had they managed to keep him, absolutely. But because they didn't, I don't know how much I'm going to buy into that. I think we all can kind of expect that Eagles are going to win that game.
I think it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be a blow. I think it'll be close.
I think it can be close. Within 10. I think 10 is probably the max I would give it. But I still think that's close because that's still a 2-possession game that isn't 2 touchdowns.
We're going to have to talk about that Bills-Chiefs game.
100%.
Yeah.
Bet the over.
It's
bet the over. It is in. Hold on, I was just double checking. It's in
Kansas City. I think the Bills fans are going to travel kind of well to that game. Would you think so?
100%. They're going to travel well to that game. Your team is absolutely humming. This is your first chance back in Arrowhead since 13 seconds. This is as far as they're concerned.
Should I start Gabe Davis this week? The Chief Killer?
I don't know, bro, because we saw what happened with Devontae Adams. You might start everybody. You might start everybody on the Bills team. You might start everybody on the Chiefs offense because it's this is going to be this. I shouldn't say that because the Bills have a really good defense.
They have a good defense, yeah.
They have a really good defense.
It's the kicker, because the Chiefs' defense is, passable, but they're not the Bills' defense. The Bills are the most complete team in the league. Can we get that out of the way first? They're the most complete team in the league.
Yeah, I'll agree with you.
I would agree with that, 100%.
Yeah.
But also, I sit here and I say, as far as statistics had gone, the Bucs had the number 1 defense in the league when the Chiefs played them. So, I'm not. You can't ever count the Chiefs out as long as Patrick Mahomes is our quarterback. You can't.
Correct.
Fucking Jerick McKinnon needs to be our starting running back. I'm sorry.
He's a dog.
I never thought I would say that, but holy shit, he basically gave us life in the last game. He played really well when we played the Bills in the playoffs too. So he's gonna get some reps for sure this week. I think it's gonna contest the playoff game as an amazing game. I don't know if it's gonna be as legendary as Mahomes driving down in 13 seconds, setting him up kind of thing. But it's going to be... It, to me, is the game that I am... If I was neutral, I would want to watch because you have arguably the 2 teams that you would expect to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC right now playing against each other. I think I agree with you when you say the Bills are the most complete team. So... I don't want the Bills to win, obviously. Whichever team wins this, I'm okay, I can see that. Right?
So, little note for the Red Zone freaks out there. You can literally just watch the Bills and Chiefs at this time. It's Panthers, Rams, and Cardinals and Seahawks during this time too.
Cardinals Seahawks going to be fun. Seahawks have a good offense.
I'd rather watch Chiefs and Bills.
I'd rather watch Chiefs and Bills than either of those games, even if I wasn't a Chiefs fan.
I mean,
wait, time out. Before we get into anything, super duper side note: are you guys picking up anyone this week in our fantasy football league?
I haven't even checked.
I am trying to pick up some players right now.
I've got plenty of leagues I need to pick up players. Why? Are you trying to pick up somebody? Who are you trying to pick up? Did somebody drop somebody?
I'm just trying to pick someone up, bro. It's all good.
It's funny when I said Seattle. Are you thinking about running back from?
Thinking
about some running back from Seattle right now?
What's his name? Out?
No,
Kenneth Walker.
Sneakier.
Sneaky.
Are you thinking
little Geno Smith action, bro? Come on.
Dude, comeback player of the year.
Yeah, comeback player of the year.
I think anyone's gonna contest you for that. I mean, I'm running with Kyler right now.
Bro. I'm running with Jalen Hurts, but
hey, but he would be a good stash for a
Can you please let me get him? Can you please let me get Kenneth Walker? Can you please let me get him? Look at my running back room.
I don't know.
I need help.
Look at my running back room. What do you mean?
What do you mean? I have Derrick Henry. That's it.
Don't even start with running back rooms, you two. Actually, I shouldn't say that. My running back room is actually pretty set.
All right, we're off topic. Get to the NFL stocks. Get to the NFL stocks.
You were talking about, but you talked about Jaguars coming down to earth. I mean, it's dog shit game of the week. Jaguars.
Oh yes, that's awful. Jaguars are going to win though.
I would definitely expect the Jaguars to win that game, unless if the Colts all of a sudden find the second coming of Peyton Manning just happens to be Matt Ryan, who's been sleeping for 5
Take advantage of a down bad Jaguars team.
At this point, yeah, you kind of would hope to. If you get halfway through this season and Matt Ryan isn't doing it, I feel like Frank Reich is on the hot seat at that point, right?
Yeah, he would have to be.
You've got such a stacked team. At this rate, at 2-2-1, I would have thought that Sam Ehlinger was their fucking starter. Because that's who their backup is.
Really?
Yeah, that's who their backup is.
Sam Ehlinger? I don't know. That's a tough one.
With the team that they have, when you say, oh, they've got Jonathan Taylor, you talk about how stacked their defense is. They've got Michael Pittman. They've got Mo Alley Cox and Jelani Woods. You look at this and you're like, hey.
Rivers would be having a field day on this team, let me tell you.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
Justin Fields would love this kind of offense, bro.
I think it's just a mix of things with the Colts, and we just can't really pinpoint one thing.
Yeah.
It's the offensive line hasn't been what is expected. Jonathan Taylor's been iffy. That's also due to the offensive line. Matt Ryan has been meh,
iffy.
And you really don't have
an offensive line as well. But also, he doesn't have anybody. He has Michael Pittman, and when Michael Pittman's out,
yeah, I was going to say you really don't have a superstar receiver that you can. Yeah.
Plus, their defense has been shaky with injuries too.
Mm-hmm. I think going into this year, they were like, all right, well, Jonathan Taylor's going to be the thing, and it wasn't, and you had to turn to Matt Ryan a lot, and it was just bad.
I don't think you're wrong against that. And then just to kind of round everything out, you better fucking stomp all over the fucking Broncos, because for Christ's sake, that team is dog shit, and if they make that a close game against the Chargers...
So here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen.
That's right.
The Chargers, it's going to be a semi-close game. Because I think Russell Wilson, this is going to be the week Russell Wilson turns up a little bit. I think if we had Bosa, it'd be a completely different game. Maybe Khalil Mack gets home a little bit, but we need a second pass rusher to really kick up to get after Wilson. I think we need to throw a couple blitzes at Wilson, because when he was under pressure, from what I've seen since he's been on primetime 18 times already this year, he has not been good. I think if we start throwing blitzes at him and we trust our corner, we trust J.C. Jackson, we trust Derwin James, we trust Asante Samuel Jr. to, kind of ISO on those guys with a little bit of safety help over top, we can win the game. And if we can bring down Melvin Gordon, maybe get after the football a little bit, we'll be fine. I'm not worried.
I really don't. Eric, you said something that this irks me. He said, if this is the one, the Russell Wilson's going to show up. I feel like we've been saying that for every game so far this year.
This is the game that's going to happen. This is the game that's going to happen because the Chargers. I just know it's going to happen.
No,
I know it's going to happen.
Because Kyle Brandt said it best, and I hate the fact that I'm actually using something he said, but Russell Wilson is the biggest fucking fraud in the NFL, in my opinion.
Hey, dude, no. It's going to be the league. Dude,
look, I know, I get it. It's your team facing, but like, let me just tell you right now, this is not the same Russell Wilson. It's not. It's totally not. Like, this man has changed since.
Dude, you guys are giving me too much confidence. Because like I know Herbert and the Chargers. I know we're gonna score like 24 points this week because the Broncos defense is good. Don't get me wrong, Broncos defense is good.
They lost some players this week.
But they also got some people back. They have Justin Simmons back.
They have Surtain covering Mike Williams, and we don't have really any other good receiver. If Keenan Allen's back, we have a pretty good shot. But it's just I'm nervy. I'm always nervy for the Broncos because they're a good team. I think Russell Wilson's not good, but against us when they play the Chargers, they always play us close.
Yeah, but
and when we played in Denver last year, granted we didn't have the defense we have this year, they beat us. And Pat Surtain picked off Herbert twice. He picked sixed him. It was just rough.
But that was a Vic Fangio defense. This is not a Vic Fangio defense anymore.
And this isn't a coach who doesn't really know what he's doing yet.
The defense is still good. I'm telling you, bro. This is going to be the week the Broncos figure it out.
I'm telling you, it's not because it's going to be next. Actually, no, it's not even going to be next week because they play the Jets.
I'm just telling you right now, when the Chargers go up 14-0
and end up losing the game,
the game is over. Text in the first fucking quarter from you.
I'm literally saying hashtag to you.
You said hashtag what?
Bowl game.
Whatever, bro.
The Broncos get figured out week 8 against the Jaguars because realistically, that's the next time they play a team that they should beat.
All right, bro. Let's stop talking about the Chargers.
All right, let's talk about stonks.
I'm nervy.
Let's talk about some stonks here. I'm going to give you 10 teams, and they're not going to be Chicago Bears, the LA Chargers, or the Kansas City Chiefs.
Let's do it. I like the fact that
all right.
Teams. Let's do it.
Number 1, the San Francisco 49ers. Are you buying, holding, or selling?
Buy.
Yep.
They're figuring it out. They're on the uptick.
I'm buying as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is still behind their quarterback.
Yep, all right. I'm buying too. That defense is picking it up, and that offense is
getting back to what it was before they let Trey play.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
They had a tough game against Denver, and then I think they had a couple games to right the ship against the Rams and Carolina. Now they got Atlanta, and then they have the Chiefs. Yeah. So I think if they can really kick up against Atlanta and they can take, some of their cool little concepts they do, they have a home game against the Chiefs. That'll be like a prove it week kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to buy on the Niners for now. I think they've got it going.
I mean, they're realistic. They're a playoff team. Mm-hmm. Period. So I'm going to continue to buy, and then I'll sell when their first hard playoff game comes.
This is going to be such a hot take. I don't care, but this is the only Super Bowl caliber team in the NFC, in my opinion. It's like Super Bowl winning team in the NFC, in my opinion.
You're faded.
I don't think an NFC team is in the Super Bowl period. So.
No, the NFC's going to win, but the only team.
I just think with that defense and maybe with that offense, I don't know, man.
We'll see it when they end up playing, the Eagles in the divisional round.
All right, we got them. We got them out of the way.
All right.
We're going Tennessee Titans. Are you buying? Are you holding? Or are you selling?
I am selling. And
that's
a hot take, and I will tell you why. Because Treylon Burks is hurt.
So
that's true.
I personally, I don't think Robert Woods has ever been wide receiver 1 caliber. He's been wide receiver 1 on the depth chart due to scheme when he was in LA. And so with him being out, and I get they have Derrick Henry, but that's it, guys. It's Derrick Henry.
I'm gonna hold on him.
I'm
gonna
holding
hold. Because you have a bye week this week, and then you've got the Colts and the Texans, and then you've got the Chiefs.
Here's the
But Derrick Henry can do what Josh Jacobs can do on any day of the week.
Yes.
Josh Jacobs had a hell of a game.
I am not. Fuck. You're trying to talk me into holding here, Eric.
I mean, I don't know. I think with Derrick Henry, anything's possible, and he's finally kicked up the last few weeks.
That's a fair point. I probably have to hold too now.
All right, so you're holding?
Yeah, I'm gonna hold.
Yeah.
All right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's such a hard team.
Because even though they did lose to the Chiefs, their offense finally clicked.
I'm gonna buy them.
But didn't they just barely beat the Falcons? The Falcons were making a comeback. You take away that roughing the passer play, the Falcons get the ball back and go and score when their offense is humming. They possibly lose that game.
I'm still buying.
The only reason that I'm gonna agree with you and buy is because they've got Tom Brady at quarterback, and whether it's by scheme, by his playing, or the fact that the fucking refs suck his dick, he's gonna win games.
That's a fair point.
That's a fair point.
They don't have a tough game until they play Baltimore on Thursday Night Football. How about that for Prime Video?
Finally,
they got it right. They got it right.
Week 8.
Yeah, 3 weeks from now, which would be week 8, right?
That'd be week. Well, we're on week 6 right now, technically.
6, 7. Yeah, it'd be week 8.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Bye. You're buying this team. You're wrong if you're selling this team or holding on this team.
The only reason I'm buying on this team is because of Lamar Jackson. Everything else makes me hold. First off,
I think
they need to fucking pay him, and the fact that they're not just goes to show that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Second off, he doesn't have a number one receiving option. You traded it away. Devin Duvernay and Rashad Bateman cannot be your number one receiving options.
That guy number one. He's got number one receiver, Mark Andrews.
That guy's a goon.
He's got Mark Andrews, which somebody posted early, before, it was on Friday last week. They're like, can't wait to watch the number one tight end go in and. I forgot who Baltimore was playing, but he was talking about Mark Andrews, and it's going to be 4 touchdowns, not anything crazy. But anyway, no, I'm buying this team because of Lamar Jackson. That's the only reason I'm buying this team.
I'm buying this team
to go get a wide receiver in the trade deadline.
Please. They should, and they could, and they should, and I think they will.
Go get DJ. Go get Brandon Cooks. Go get somebody that wants to leave elsewhere. But it needs to be a number one receiving option kind of caliber receiver. You can't. Don't go get N'Keal Harry, or don't go get fucking, somebody off the Jags or off of the Lions, because they won't trade their number one receiving option, quote unquote. But you need somebody who is that top tier receiver on this team for Lamar, and they can go at that point. So
I'm buying this team because not only do they have Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, whatever, their defense is good, but I think they've had enough test to the point where you could say they're proven and they can correct their mistakes. Because realistically, they're 5-0 if they don't blow leads against Miami and Buffalo, and they had Buffalo dead to rights. They just didn't score any points in the second half when they played Buffalo. They were up 20-10 at the half. They were 23-20.
At the very end of the game.
It's just bad. But you learn from your mistakes, and you had a little scare this week against Cincinnati. They've blown leads. I just think they get too conservative, and if they keep their foot on the pedal with one of the best quarterbacks and easily the most versatile quarterback in the game, you will take it to the next level and start winning games in the second half rather than nearly blowing games.
You have to stay aggressive in the second half, and they don't
exactly
do a good job of that.
And I think with the 3 scares they've had against good teams, they will fix that.
Their defense is solid. Obviously there's some holes, but mostly pretty solid defense. And like you said, their 2 losses are to 2 teams that we've kind of doted as major AFC contenders, really solid teams. You can't, like, I'm not going to fault them. I'm going to fault them for that stupid-ass fucking cover 0 against Buffalo, but, like, it's Buffalo. I expected them to win that game anyway. You know, the game against Miami, them blowing the lead, it's the offense stalling out because they get conservative.
And then your defense just gives up all the points in the world.
Your defense wins championships, but you got to be able to score so your defense can rest and then, you know, have extra pressure to put on them, essentially.
Exactly.
Move on.
I'm buying too.
Good.
Let's stick with their opponents this week, the New York Football Giants.
Selling.
I'm doing the opposite.
I'm selling.
I'm buying.
Oh, man.
Oh, buddy. Oh.
You got to sell high, man. They're 4-1. People are like, "Oh, the New York Football Giants for you?" No.
Freeze. Their schedule, they play the Ravens. They go Jaguars, Seahawks, Texans, Lions, Cowboys, Commanders. And then they play the Commanders twice in their last. At that point, they play them. They play the Eagles in between them, and they play them again. And then they go Colts. To end the year. I'm sorry. The only games that I think they lose from here on out, realistically, when they play Dallas, obviously when they play Baltimore this week, and then when they play. So you got 1 week against Baltimore. I think they lose against Dallas. You're going to lose against the Eagles. And you're going to lose against the Vikings in the last week of 2022 before we go into the 2023 season.
So 11-6.
You think they're going 11-6?
I think it's highly possible. Absolutely.
Dude, no, bro. Like, listen.
Actually, I can see them losing the Lions, too. So.
Sure, it's been a miracle run for them, starting off 4-1. And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Saquon Barkley's having a great year. Daniel Jones is having a great year. I love Saquon Barkley, and I like that the Giants are playing good football. But this week you have a reality test, home game against, like I said, a team that I'm buying on, the Baltimore Ravens. If you can't score points against the Ravens, you're going to lose. It's the same thing with Jacksonville. We've seen Jacksonville struggle, but I think Doug Pearson's going to come out and have a plan. Trevor Lawrence, they scored 38 on the Chargers. Granted, the Chargers were hurt, but
when they play the Jaguars, fuck, who was that guy that they just drafted this last year? Diesel, help me out. Defensive lineman they drafted.
The Giants?
Kayvon Thibodeau.
Thibodeau is going to have his career game against fucking Trevor Lawrence. He's going to have 3 strip sacks or some shit like that. Here's my
thing. And then no. I'm not done yet. Seattle, Geno Smith, he's going to feed that game. Comeback player of the year, Geno Smith. Kenneth Walker, I'm picking him up in fantasy. Let me do it. And then Houston and Detroit. I think Houston will game manage. The Houston Giants game is like the battle of mid, dude. It's like it's the battle of game managing quarterbacks, and I don't know. That'll be a weird game. And then Detroit, good offense. Dallas, you're going to lose to. Who knows what the Commanders are going to look like? You're going to lose to Philly, and again the Commanders. You're going to lose to Minnesota. Who knows what the Colts are going to look like? You're going to lose to Philly. You're going to lose 3 of your last 5 games, guaranteed, at least.
So we just talked about Baltimore giving up leads.
Dude, no. Daniel Jones is not going to make the comeback.
I'm not worried about Daniel fucking Jones. We saw Saquon Barkley throw a 45-yard touchdown a week ago. I'm not saying he's their quarterback, but I'm saying you've got plenty of options. And Brian Daboll has this team bought in. I am buying, expecting that they're going to win at least half of their next games.
Okay, that's fair, honestly. Daboll's a great coach. I think he's doing a great job with Jones because he's not making him make as many plays, He's
not trying to turn him into a Phillip Rivers or
superstar.
Somebody like that that's a superstar. Like I said, he's making him a Ryan Tannehill, and Ryan Tannehill's having success in Tennessee. They're winning games. I fully expect this team to still win games that way. I don't expect them to all of a sudden. They're not going to win the NFC East. They're probably not going to the playoffs. Unless if Dallas just shits the bed.
So you just said they're going 11-6, but they're not going to make the playoffs.
Well, I was a little ambitious on my prediction on what their record was going to be. But I was just naming the obvious losses when I say,
That's
okay,
fair.
obviously you're going to lose Ravens. You're obviously going to lose against the Eagles. You're obviously going to lose against Dallas. You're obviously going to lose against Vikings. Like, those are obvious losses that you're going.
I'm taking my money and running with the Giants.
I'm gonna buy them.
All
Taking
right.
my money and running.
I am holding because I'm a sicko.
That's whatever, bro.
Let's stay in New York. Let's go to the Jets.
Buy.
I'll buy the Jets.
Sauce Gardner.
I love
rookie
young
defensive player of the year.
defense. Easy.
Yeah.
Rookie defensive player of the year, like, easily.
I'll buy the Jets. I love Brees Hall.
I'll buy too.
I love Brees Hall.
Realistically speaking, if this thing with Tua is worse than people are expecting, and he's out longer, they easily could possibly be a wild card team this year. That's crazy for me to say. They could possibly be a wild card team if they end up being second in that division.
It's starting to look like the AFC North might only have one playoff team. Because I thought they might have two.
Crazy for us to think, because you would have thought at least Cleveland or Cincinnati, one of those two, was going to end up being that other team.
I don't trust Cincinnati's offensive line.
I think Cleveland will make it. Is that what we're thinking of here?
Brissett is chosen way too many big time situations.
It's true. We saw it last week.
Yeah.
I mean, he also did it against Atlanta. He also did Jets. So I mean,
I'm not. For me, it's if Cincinnati's O-line figures it out, maybe they have a shot. But right now, I mean, realistically, I think your wild card teams that you're looking at is the Chargers and the Jets. Chargers, Dolphins, unless if Tua's out for longer than like 2 more weeks, and then we can see the Jets kind of take a lead on them.
I'm gonna buy too. They're fun, and it's cool to see that both the New York teams are actually has some hope.
And
you have a half decent schedule. I think your toughest games, you play Buffalo twice, you play New England again, or you play New England twice, which is a little scary because I think Belichick's gonna have his way. Other than that, you play a bunch of last place teams, and then Miami, of course.
So you've got you've got Green Bay, which is 50-50 right now. We don't know what they are. You've got Denver.
If they can steal a New England game.
You do have a hard run, as you said. You go New England, Buffalo, and New England. Like,
that's like the momentum killer in the middle of the year, and you have to like really have a quick regain
to go up against
Bears, Minnesota, and then Buffalo again. Like, it's tough.
But then, like you said, you kind of get some. You get the Lions, you get the Jags, you get Seattle, which are teams that could be good. They could also be dog shit. Depending on at that point in the year, and then you have against Miami. At that point, that last game on January 8th, could be the game that decides which one of those teams goes to the wild card.
Yeah, I mean, it's decision day.
But if Brees Hall keeps running the way he's running, I don't want to say the sky is the limit for the Giants or the Jets, but you have a shot. He gives you a shot.
He gives you a real shot.
Yeah.
And Garrett Wilson's playing out of his mind. Zach Wilson's doing good. I think Garrett Wilson. I think easily you can.
All right, we got 3 more teams.
Let's do it.
Let's stick with who the Jets are playing. The Green Bay Packers.
Oh man,
I am holding, and the only reason that I'm gonna hold is because if Green Bay goes and gets a wide receiver at the trade deadline, that's a quality wide receiver, then I would consider. Then I think they have a chance. Otherwise, man, you can't win games if people can't catch the ball.
You have winnable games coming up on your schedule, and obviously you have those tough games. Like you go to Buffalo for Sunday Night Football, which is going to be tough. You go to Philadelphia for Sunday Night Football. I would agree with the hold here.
Yeah.
Because I think Rodgers is still good. Like you said, he just needs the weapons. He's got the running backs. But he just needs, someone else to throw to. I think the defense is passable.
I'm gonna hold too, just because I think this receiving core could do enough to get into the wild card.
I think Dobbs and Lazard is decent, but if you add one more, then they're.
Yeah,
pretty deadly.
Because Carolina is going to get Carolina's offensive core is going to get plucked to death by trades. Now
it's going to be hilarious.
Last week we were talking about Saquon. Hell, it could be McCaffrey that could go to fucking Bills
Buffalo.
or
if McCaffrey goes to Buffalo, Buffalo's going to win the.
Buffalo, yeah, it's over. It's over.
If you're Green Bay right here, right, and like let's say crazy situation, right, like DJ Moore goes to Chicago, right?
To Chicago?
Yeah.
I'm still.
Do you think Robbie Anderson out of there is enough?
I saw Robbie Anderson to go to the Chargers would be a good move because he's a big deep threat. Herbert's got a big arm. You got 2 deep threats now, Mike Williams and them. But I don't know if our GM's going to do anything about that because I think he's just waiting for Keenan Allen.
Give up another draft.
My thing with going back to DJ Moore going to Chicago, I'm okay with it. I just don't want them wasting a first rounder. That's my thing.
I was just shooting a team out there that was going after a wide receiver, right? Because what I was basically going to say is DJ Moore's off the board. You have, say, Brandon Cooks and Robbie Anderson you're kind of staring at as far as receivers go that are tradable right now. Do you think either of those, like I think Brandon Cooks makes this easily a playoff caliber team. I look at Robbie Anderson and I'm like, maybe he's like kind of on that line that like
Brandon Cooks is the only one I see.
Yeah, Brandon
Cooks. I mean, DJ Moore, I think DJ Moore is good. I don't think he's like great.
I think he's a lot better than he's looked because he hasn't had a fucking quarterback.
If you get him a good quarterback, he'll be good. Like if he was with Justin Herbert, people would be like, "All right, DJ Moore's a guy." Like
if you had any good quarterback, I feel like
who has he had? He's had Darnold. He's had Baker,
Bridgewater,
PJ Walker, Cam Newton.
See, because they're not going to make you look good.
No, none of those guys make you look good.
Like, and you know his name too, which says a lot about him. Like, I think if you give him like a top 15 quarterback, he's good. But he's just had such bad luck in Carolina with quarterbacks.
All right, so we got 2 more. Let's stick with NFC North. Vikings. I'm selling.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense. Hold on, like you're Miami, Arizona.
Oh, Jesus, these guys are 4-1.
They're 4-1.
Right.
Miami, Arizona are your next 2. You get a win against the Commanders. You go to Buffalo. You go to Dallas. Then Patriots, Jets. Like you get all these hard games. Then you get the Lions, Colts, Giants, and then you get your NFC North matchups in Green Bay and Chicago. You get a lot of tough games. So I'm almost.
You guys are gonna like this. I'm gonna buy.
Let's go.
On the schedule, you look at the schedule. I only see one more primetime game.
Fair point.
I see one more primetime game at home on Sunday Night Football or Thursday Night Football, against Patriots. A winnable game.
The Colts game is to be determined. If they're both
playing the Bears game
at that point, and so is the Bears game.
But the Colts won't be, so that's not going to be prime time. That's going to be noon.
Probably not.
And then maybe if the Bears kick up a little bit, but I don't think that'll be prime time.
I'm going to go in the middle of you two. I'm going to hold on this one just because of how hot their schedule is these next 3 weeks. Going against, 4 weeks actually, because you've got Carson Wentz and the Commanders in the middle. But like, you've got some real tests as far as defenses go. 3 out of these 4 weeks. You've got Arizona, you've got Miami, and you've got Buffalo. If you come out of that 2-2, realistically, or better, then I think realistically they can come out of that 3-1, only really losing to Buffalo. But I'm giving Miami's defense kind of the benefit of the doubt right here. If you come out of that 2-2 or better, then like you said, there's only one more primetime game. They're gonna be the NFC North's playoff team at that point. This coming from someone Diesel, I still thought the Packers were gonna be it at the beginning of this season. Like I really thought it. And so far this season, I really
think only week 6.
It is only week 6. There's still plenty of ball left, but man.
And Kirk Cousins, I don't trust that dude at all. Still, I don't.
I don't get why we don't, because I get why on the primetime games, but like since he's been in Minnesota, he's had a coach that wants to run the ball 3 downs, like basically. And he finally gets a coach that has a good offense. We forget about that year, that year. Washington was a playoff team and was a team that people were considering as a dark horse to go to the Super Bowl that year. And so it was like, and that was led by Kirk Cousins. And that was a offensive coordinator that let him throw the fucking ball. And it was okay when he made mistakes because he had a defense that could hold him. He's got that. Fuck it, I'm buying too. Fucking, I'm pumped about this team.
You went from sell to hold to buy?
No, I was not sell. I was holding it, and then it was like buy. I wasn't ever gonna sell on this team. This team,
you're right.
Has been way too good for me to ever want to sell so far.
You know what? I'll hold, but I'm probably not gonna buy. I just want to see what happens. Watch the burning ship, like it always happens with Minnesota. They're gonna burn. Green Bay will just stay around and behind, and then Minnesota will start dropping games they should be winning, and then Green Bay is gonna creep right back up and win the North. That's what's gonna happen again this year.
So I'm gonna give Roger some more ayahuasca. He'll be fine.
The last but not least, the last team, and this is the tough one because there was a lot of good ones I wanted to talk about. But after that horrific loss at home, Jaguars.
Hold. I'm holding. Because I've seen what they can do. I think they'll make adjustments. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but I don't even need to look at their schedule. I'm going to hold just because they put up 38 on the Chargers. I'm going to feel them out a little bit.
Okay.
I think they dropped a goose egg. I'm buying. I can say I think they're better. I think they could be better than Titans at the end of the year.
Let me drop some the schedule here for you. This week they play the Colts.
W.
Win.
Giants.
Win.
W.
Broncos.
W.
Win.
Raiders.
L.
That's a loss.
Chiefs.
Loss.
L.
Ravens.
Where?
Doesn't matter. Baltimore's going to travel. It's a loss.
It's in Jacksonville.
It's a loss.
Lions.
Yeah, I'll take it L.
Win.
W.
Titans.
Win.
W.
Cowboys.
Win.
Oh.
I love it. Jets.
W. Win.
Yeah, I think they can win that.
Really? I would count that as a loss, but that's just me. Texans. No, I think realistically there's a chance for them to win a bunch of their schedule as well. Kind of like what I was saying with the Giants. Like, there's a chance they can. They're also going to flunk a couple of those games. Fuck it, I'm going to buy 2.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm just holding. I'll stick with the hold. I'm happy with the hold.
Fucking go. I think this team can win the South still. Even though they lost to the Texans. I still think this team can still win the South.
I think they're going to split them with the Texans. I mean, they're going to go back and do better next time because they're not going to be as,
Like, I will feel more nervous about them possibly not winning the South. And then,
yeah.
All right, that's it for the stocks. Good job.
Well,
keep this.
It's that time of year, boys.
Mm-hmm.
It is that
best time of the year.
It's Eric's favorite time of the year, possibly. Besides, actually, I forget which holiday is your favorite. I was gonna say Christmas, but Eric's favorite time of the year. It is baseball playoffs, MLB. We're in the playoffs. Man, we've had some shit happen in this already.
The teams that didn't have the advantage in the wild card series with home field advantage, 3 out of those 4 teams won their games. 3 out of those 4 teams won their games.
Because it was
Cleveland had the home field advantage. Okay. Seattle, Philly, and San Diego.
Yeah. Which, pump for Seattle, pump for San Diego. I'm really happy for those two teams. I couldn't care less about Philly. The only reason I even wanted the Cardinals to go on was because I kind of would like, if Pujols is going to retire this year, like a bunch of people think is possible, I would have liked for him to have had like a deep run into the playoffs, but they didn't, so sucks. And then fucking Rays let me down. I wanted the fucking Guardians to get their shit kicked in. I hate Cleveland, but it's fine. It's fine. So, but man, the Mets shocked me. Like, I should say
they didn't shock me.
I've always liked the Padres. I felt like the Padres were a team that their record didn't show how good they were. But them going up against the Mets to start was, to me, just like it was not good, because I felt like the Mets were kind of hot. And they very much fizzled out in that series. They're the only series to go to 3. So they did have some
kind of expected. If the Padres were going to win, they were going to take it to 3. The Mets has sort of just pissed away the division, and I think the Padres sort of matched their pitching firepower. And in the games that the Padres won, the Mets scored 1 and 0 runs. But I mean, you're going against the Dodgers in round 1, and they're already down 3-0 in the bottom of the 3rd right now. But you're throwing a guy who you didn't have on your wild card roster. So he's obviously not a guy you want to be throwing. He had a 9 ERA against the Dodgers in the regular season, so I think you're kind of just like throwing this game away, which is like a little weird to me. But you got Darvish going tomorrow. Yeah. You got Darvish going tomorrow, so it's a good chance for a bounce back. I'm honestly already chalking this game up for the Padres, dude. Like, it's 3-0. Dodgers have 2 on and 1 out right now.
Yeah.
But the game I really wanted to talk about, at least for today, did we want to talk about the wild card series at all, or do we just want to stick with today? Because I could go on all day about the wild card series.
Talk about the wild card series, dude. I didn't get a chance to watch as many of these games as I would have liked. I got the chance to catch like a couple, a little bit here and there. Unfortunately, I don't know why Oklahoma we got all the St. Louis games, so it was like, I guess that kind of makes sense, but it was like I was more interested in, like I said, hoping that the Rays would beat the Guardians or, Seattle.
No, the Guardians-Rays series was not good.
It wasn't that hot. It wasn't.
They had I think both teams had a combined OPS throughout the 2 games of like 400, so nobody hit. The Mariners impressed me. They had that big comeback win against Toronto. They sort of got a taste of their own medicine today, which I want to talk about that in a little bit. Philadelphia, St. Louis. Philadelphia just won. The Cardinals didn't get the big hits they'd be getting all year. Goldie and Arenado just did not show up at all in those 2 games. I think they went to combine 1 for 8 or 1 for 9, something like that. They just didn't come through when you needed them to. That's really all. It's a 3-game series. Literally anything can happen. That's why the wild card series is so fun. But then you got teams like the Padres matched up with the Dodgers, who have been their kryptonite, and you got the Mariners matched up with Houston, who has been Seattle's kryptonite. But we saw that today. I don't know if you guys saw the game, but I think the Mariners manager Scott Servais kind of overmanaged a bit in the 9th inning. They sort of blew the lead away. I don't know if you saw it, Diesel, with how Houston ended up winning this game. But it was 7-5 Mariners. They started off hot. They hit Justin Verlander, got 4 runs, and then you go bottom of the 9th. Mariners are up 7-5. The Astros get 2 runners on with 2 outs, and the Mariners have their closer in. And then Yordan Alvarez comes up, 2 outs. He represents the winning run, and Scott Servais goes to the bullpen to bring in Robbie Ray. You think lefty-lefty matchup, right? That's great, but obviously hindsight's 20/20. But either way, Yordan Alvarez is gonna hit you, and he hits lefties better than he hit righties this year. I think he hit 320 against lefties, 300 against righties. And then sure enough, Robbie Ray throws him a little 93-mile-an-hour cookie right down the heart of the plate, and the Astros win the game. Hit it about 450 feet, and you've got an opportunity to bounce back tomorrow or on Thursday with Luis Castillo, but if you're going down 2-0 in a series against the Astros, it's bleak.
Yeah.
Same goes for the Padres. I think if you can't go back to San Diego tied at 1, and it's tough. Atlanta will be fine. I think they lost against Philly, and then the Yankees are going to handle the Guardians.
Thank God.
That's my rundown of baseball so far.
No, I think you're right though. I think baseball is such a. I gotta say this correctly. It's when you overmanage in baseball, you lose. Realistically, like statistically speaking, I feel like from everything that I've seen, when you try to play too much into like, oh, this guy's coming in analytics, like analytics has its place in the game, but too much analytics can easily cost you a game as well. So
there's a reason why the Dodgers avoid one World Series.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you play too analytical, and
you just got to go with your guy. And I mean,
you got to let him play. In
terms of the Mariners, you got Paul Sewald, who's been your guy, who has been nails all year. And Service was like, no, we're going to go lefty-lefty. I don't even think he looked at the stats. Jordan's better against lefties. And Robbie Ray is coming off a game in Toronto where he just got shelled.
Yeah.
Granted, the Mariners won the game, but he got shit on.
But I also understand being a manager / coach and having faith in your guys to do what needs to be done. But I understand completely that, like, when you overmanage a game, and you don't give your guy a chance to play, then you're not going to get the result you want because they're spending too much time trying to figure out what you're asking of them and doing what you're asking of them than actually just playing the game.
Yeah, and then how do you feel if you're Paul Sewald? You're like, I want to face this guy, like, this is my spot, high leverage spots, late in games. Yep. I'm getting my chance to do it, and you bring in a guy who just got shelled against Toronto. His confidence is shot, and you're bringing him to face one of the, honestly, probably the best hitter in the game right now.
Yeah. So
it's just like, what does that do for your confidence if you're Sewald? I don't know. I didn't like it.
Hopefully, they learn from that mistake. They don't try and get too shifty when it. Yeah, too cute with it. Let the boys play. You know, let them. They can figure it out. They're professionals for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I would say let them play. Yeah, Yankees.
Can I just say one thing? I hate Bob Costas calling these games.
I agree.
I have to
oh my god, like
it's pretty brutal.
Someone says Bob Costas was basically talking about the Iron was 3 outs away from a 182 pitch no hitter. Unfortunately, he died of tuberculosis at the age of 28. And Ron Don's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right, buddy.
At this point, I pretty much, whatever game is on that I can turn on, I immediately mute the announcers and I go to the radio. I have the MLB TV for free through T-Mobile, and I go to the radio and I listen to that and I set it down next to me and watch and listen at the same through a different, because the radio announcers are so much more entertaining to listen to.
I went to a little local burger joint, and they had the game on, and I was eating when Jordan hit the home run. Electric in there. Let me tell you, it was electric in there.
Yeah.
People were just cheering. I was like, yo, okay.
I hope that Seattle can make this a series. I kind of would love it if this series went the distance.
Yeah, man, I hope so too.
So let's look ahead. We're talking about making it the series. In terms of the NL, the Braves have Kyle Wright against Zach Wheeler tomorrow. Kyle Wright is 21-5 this year, with a 3.19 ERA. So, Braves give him some run support. Zach Wheeler's 12-7 with a 2.8 ERA, and that says a lot about, run support from a team. I think the Braves are going to come back, get a win here, go 1-1 in Philly, and I think they'll bring it back to Atlanta and win the series. If they don't already win it in Philadelphia, I think the Braves will be fine. They put up a little comeback at the end of the game, but
yeah, I'm not really stressed about.
I'm not worried about the Braves.
But if the Phillies win this game, that's when you hit the panic button.
Yeah,
because you're going back to Philly and they've got 2 shots to win it.
Rabid fan base. with a team that has been not been performing up to the part that they've been projected to be for so many years, and then finally getting a groove. Yeah, happy for Schwarby though.
Scary. Yeah, happy for Schwarby. I love that guy. Leads the league in strikeouts, leads the league in home runs, whatever. It's just it's so
love
funny.
The guy, Schwarby.
And then at the night game, you got Darvish against Clayton Kershaw, who is somehow still performing at a high level. Darvish, in his last outing against the Dodgers, I think he went 7 or 8 shutout innings. He was nasty, and he was great in New York for the Padres. I think this is a perfect opportunity for the Padres to bounce back, get a win, take it to San Diego with a little bit of momentum, and San Diego is like rallying around the Padres right now with them in the playoffs, especially against the Dodgers. But again, it's Kershaw. Is Kershaw, but it's also playoff Kershaw. So.
Yes. So it's such.
Is that a question?
That'll be. I think the Padres-Dodgers game will be a much better game tomorrow than it is right now, because right now it's 4-0 Dodgers. They just got another run. Padres already made a pitching change, so we're chalking that one up.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Thursday.
And then
the
AL games.
Yeah, the AL games. Mariners. Coming out with Castillo. And
best free agent pickup, or not best trade deadline pickup in my eyes for any team.
I was. Yeah.
For any team.
Against Valdez.
Framber's good, but Luis is it's exactly like the Padres. You've got Framber, who is probably Houston's number 1 and number 2. I think he was their opening day starter because Verlander was hurt. Against Luis Castillo, but the Mariners got their number 1 guy going. Same thing as the Padres. You got your number 1 guy going. You're looking to make it 1-1, going back to your city. Honestly, even if Houston wins this game, I think the Seattle home crowd is enough for them to really get fired up and start a comeback. That's just me.
Yeah.
That might just be me. What say you, Diesel? What do you say?
For Astros?
Astros or Mariners, either one.
Dude, this loss today was kind of a gut punch, big time.
Momentum killer.
Yeah, it was. But it's just you got your best pitcher coming back out for game 2.
Exactly.
And you got to hope the guy they can pull it out because all they had to do was take 1 game from Houston. That's all they got to do. They still have a chance. They still got 9 innings of baseball to do that. So
the scary thing is though the momentum Houston's going to have off the walk-off home run.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about for Seattle. Is that momentum? Because you know how momentum works in baseball. It's tough, especially with the home crowd in Houston, because Houston has a great home field advantage. I think their crowd is awesome. As much as I hate the Astros, their crowds are always insane.
Yeah. I'm actually.
And then Yankees
trying to get tickets for that game. Actually.
Really? You're going to try to head out there?
Yeah, I think that's the cheapest one I saw. $40.
You say 140 or 40?
40.
Oh, go! Come on, what are you talking about? You gotta go.
For $40, dude, that's like
it's a steal. Yeah, I don't care where the seats are. You're going.
Yeah.
I'll buy them for you. Yeah, and then you got Cleveland and New York, and I just don't think Cleveland can get the run support against Nestor Cortez, despite having Shane Bieber on the mound. That's that. I don't know. I think the Yankees 3-1 are sweet. They'll win it in Cleveland.
Yeah, easily.
Just tough for Cleveland, but I mean, you knew it was going to happen.
Central.
Yeah, it's
Central.
We didn't expect an AL Central team to make a run here.
Yeah.
No, not one bit. So.
I mean, it should be the fucking White Sox. That team.
We don't talk about the White Sox. We don't talk about the White Sox. That's just horrible. Horrible baseball out there.
Man.
Yeah, no kidding.
I still think firing Rick Rentera for Tony was the worst thing they ever did.
100%.
Can't talk about horrible baseball.
100%.
But no, I think that kind of settles it. And I mean, it's getting to be an exciting time. The NHL opening night was tonight. with the Rangers beating the Lightning 3-1.
Well, expected.
Yeah.
Go Ducks.
Yeah.
Go Zegers, go Troy Terry, go young guys, go McTavish. We'll see what we can do this year.
And we'll. I feel like for the most part for hockey, we'll just kind of check in and be like, Diesel being kind of our hockey.
Diesel will be our big analyst guy.
I mean, I'll already predict the final. It's going to be a Colorado-New York Rangers final. Colorado's going to win.
That's probably
Colorado won last year.
Yep.
No.
They'll probably do it again. That's fine.
Who's that big defender they have?
Cale Makar.
Yes, Makar. That's his name. I'm thinking Cider, but yeah, Cale Makar is nuts, dude. I was watching a lot of the playoffs last year. That dude is a dog.
Him, Landeskog, and McKinnon are like the next big young core. And let me just tell you, it won't shock me if Pittsburgh struggles. It will not shock me one bit if Sidney Crosby gets traded to Denver, to Colorado, before the deadline. It would not shock me one bit.
Chat, clip it. Chat, clip it.
That's gonna be our first. That's gonna be our first TikTok clip right there. Just that goal right there.
Prophecy.
What? Great.
Also, NBA's coming soon.
NBA is coming soon.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
That will be fun.
Milwaukee Golden State.
Is there? When is their opening night?
I think it's next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Is it this same day we're recording next week? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll probably do like little live look-ins like we did for Padres.
That's fair.
Padres right now.
I mean, hey, preseason hasn't looked terrible for the Thunder, Eric.
No, but
it is preseason.
And again, it's a preseason.
I think you're going to have a lot of teams, and then Alan Silver's going to be like, yo, I know what y'all are doing. You need to stop.
Trying to get Victor, bro. Come on.
Because there's only two teams that are I think that has the biggest chance of getting him. It ain't the Thunder. Thunder will win too many games this year.
Yeah.
I think it'd be between Utah and San Antonio.
Well, I mean, yeah, as far as that goes, but also, I mean, how many fucking picks do we have,
Yeah, true.
Like, even if we don't get him, we're going to get another set of young guys that can make plays. And we get Chet back next year.
This whole team is going to be so young at that point that they can keep them, and you trade them around and utilize them. I mean, the team's going to end up being a playoff caliber team in 4 years.
Yeah.
But opening night next Tuesday, we got the 76ers at the Celtics and the Lakers at the Warriors.
I fucking sleep.
So,
man, dude.
Yeah. It'd be pretty
Lake
good.
Nation.
Shut up. We're not starting that.
Man, how are they going to let that... I got so much shit I want to say, but...
Let's just wait till next.
Let's wait till next week. So
we'll wait till next week.
Well,
I'm down.
But thank you guys for listening. This has been the Spitballin Sports Show. Please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and be sure to hit that follow, or is it subscribe on Apple Podcast?
And subscribe on YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple as well.
Subscribe on YouTube. Click the like button. Follow us on social media, Twitter. We got a Facebook page or no?
Don't have a Facebook page yet. Okay. Problem is, I have too many family on Facebook.
No reach to the old heads yet. No reach to the old heads
yet.
Instagram.
That we're working on.
All right. Okay. Progress.
Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Well, obviously, we're on YouTube, and we're working still. At this point, if they're listening on Spotify and Apple, obviously it's up. But at the point of recording,
Poggers.
Still not there. But alrighty, thank you guys.